For what people hear in public, they have to go to speak up and healing, or is that changed since we're?
This is for cable. Those are for Zoom.
Okay, I saw the car. So all the people. Can't participate. Yes.
Yeah, I still,
The participants are required to leave remote and leave. That's okay. Jim, have a. Later. Okay, welcome everyone. It's 7 o'clock, so fast similar thereof. So we'll get started. I'm Michael Herron, Chair. We have a new member on the commission, brand new. Tonight's her first meeting. Adela Francis was sworn in yesterday, so she'll be participating to replace Noelle Leos, who got married and moved to the western part of Massachusetts to get away from going here there, or to welcome her new life. I'm sure that she's going to have a good experience out there. So again, we thank her for her service and welcome Pamela. We also have a new member tonight of the Conservation Administration, Conservation Agent Hannah Chase, not to be confused with Hannah Crawford, who are sitting here, 2 HCs, but we're welcome Hannah. She comes to us with experience from a peer review company that we have used and highly recommended, and we had a very good interview process and very good qualified candidates, and we're happy that Hannah has accepted the position and look forward to her getting up to speed with the support of Hannah Chase Crawford. See, I'm already mixing it up. And hopefully applicants, like I see a couple in the audience, and people who are representing various hearings aren't too confused by hearing another Pamela's voice on the phone or another Hannah responding, but we'll keep people moving forward in a smooth manner. And I welcome you to Hannah or Pamela, if you'd like to make any comments. Describe a little bit about yourself if you want, share or not, it's your choice.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is day 2 for me. Getting trained by Hannah Crawford. Been a really great experience so far, and I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Pamela Francis. I lived in Bellingham for 8 years. I'm really interested in everything environmental. My favorite place to walk is behind Stalker with my dog. I'm invested in Bellingham and making sure that our wetland laws are respected.
Also, for the record, Neil Stanley, our vice chair, is participating remotely via Zoom. And as such, we will be then doing all of votes that need to happen tonight by roll call as opposed to just voice. When everyone is here, we just do voice vote, but it is a requirement when someone is outside that we do a roll call. So that'll slow it down a little bit.
Hello, sorry about that.
No problem, Neil. We're happy to have you here. Our line is almost as good as being in person, and Don is just keeping your chair warm, so to speak, here.
Yeah, I thought he was, I saw him trying to muscle in there.
Yeah.
I don't think I can fill it, but I'll sit on it.
Okay. So we are going to jump around in the agenda a little bit, as some things have changed very, very recently, and we've had some hearings that will be being continued, but we are going to jump down to other business and invite Under Dales?
No, Brian.
Oh, Brian, there you go. Sorry, I'm just looking down the bottom corner thing. Brian, Madden, to briefly describe the NEC peer review scope. Since we just received that today, we will not be discussing it at any length since the commission members literally had, less than an hour or 2 or 3 to vote. I'm sorry, to look at it. And so Brian's going to briefly sum up a couple things and then we'll let him go and move back. Brian, go ahead.
Thank you very much. For the record, Brian Madden from LEC Environmental Consultants. So yeah, we took a look at the peer review proposal. Looks good on our end. I think we're interested in getting that underway as quickly as possible, and would certainly make ourselves available to meet the peer reviewer out there just to kind of show them around, given the extent of wetlands out on site. And yeah, I guess just here for any questions if there are any.
Okay, commission members obviously have gotten have gotten the information, but unless someone has a pressing question, I'll let Brian go, having gotten that description. So you're saying on behalf of the applicant, Brian, that they're prepared to go ahead with peer review both scope and cost at this point in time if we don't have any objections?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, or things that are missing and so forth. We don't usually vote on peer review going ahead, if the applicant's willing to pay for it. So there's not a hearing process that we have to go through. However, since the commission usually has a chance to look at the scope and make sure it's accurate, and we have had some issues with some scopes recently, and someone will come on this meeting tonight, perhaps. I will ask the commission what they would like to do. Again, I think is one viable option. Just give the commission a couple of days to review it offline, and if they have any comments, relay them to Panos, and if they have, if it's a big issue, we'll need to postpone to another meeting and have a discussion in open hearing. If it's just a minor point or no one has any points, maybe you could just check in and say, okay with you. And if we don't hear anything by Friday, let's say,
Friday.
if that's enough time for people to take a glance at that peer review. I don't think it's, Brian, how long was the peer review? You looked at it, so obviously now. How many pages roughly? Is it extensive and? the scope proposal?
Well, the bulk of the proposal is 4 pages, and then there's, I guess, standard agreement, terms and conditions, attachments. But I think the extent of the peer review is relatively straightforward. They lay out the amount of time that they've allocated for this, both days and hours, and what would go into a letter report, meeting attendance, and follow-up coordination. They do note that some of the wetlands, as they state, are within maintained open field conditions, so soils are going to be heavily utilized in the review. It's true that some of the wetlands do abut existing golf holes that go across golf holes, so I think that's what they were getting at. I would suggest if it's appropriate that, by the end of the week, if the commission's okay with everything or has any questions, there's a lot to review out there and it's going to take some time. That if we could get that initiated and then maybe follow up with the commission on the December 11th meeting, just as kind of like a status check to see if there's any follow-up questions or things we need to vet out at that point in time. You would not necessarily anticipate this being fully wrapped up by the December 11th meeting, especially given the Thanksgiving holiday, but just to keep things on track and just as a check-in with the commission, if that would be okay with
You say wrapped up, what is your interpretation of wrapped up, that the peer review has happened?
Yeah.
Or that, I mean, we're talking about the approval process, and then BSC obviously has to get back to us as to when they can actually do this. I don't think that, did they say that they were immediately available in the peer review proposal?
I don't think they stated in the proposal. I don't know.
Given how they
been-
seem to be fairly short-staffed, and we do have a couple other projects that are in the works with them to review things, and from what we're hearing, or Hannah's hearing, we'll see how that you're overly optimistic with the December 11th being prepared to come back and discuss, well, this is the initial peer review, that they've walked the site and they've seen everything. The other thing is, I just want to make sure this scope does include the entire golf course, not just the lower wetlands area with the access road, correct? Because you
Yeah.
mentioned golf holes and so forth, and the original scope that we looked at on the sidewalk some time ago, which identified vernal pools, so it's just restricted to the lower part of the slope. We didn't go into the course at all, but this scope does include everything, so we won't have to have a second review down the road of other areas.
Correct. Yes, this
Okay.
covers the entire 5 parcels.
Okay. Yeah, and we are getting as a reminder to the both commission and the public that are interested in this, as well as you know this, Brian. Winter time, believe it or not, waking up to 28-degree temperatures today, and so the weather's probably not going to get up into the 70s and 80s again, and vernal pools certainly are out of scope to review until spring, but the other areas may become a little more problematic as, who knows, when they get the SNOW word. Talk to other parts of the country and expect 40 inches or something like that in one period of time recently. So, yeah, we'll just have to keep an eye as far as the sidewalks, because certainly at least one sidewalk, if not potentially several, given the size of the site, may be called for. So, commissioners, keep that in mind. We'll
And
see
they,
how it goes. Okay.
yeah, and they did, fully make themselves available for if the commission wants to attend, or have a group meeting.
Okay, any other questions from commissioners about this to Brian, and or how we are in agreement that we can all take a look at it by Friday and get back a thumbs up or question marks or whatever for Hannah?
Now, we have this in the portal?
It was provided an email attachment, I think, this
Right.
time.
This
We
afternoon.
can switch it over to the portal. I'm sure they can.
No,
switch
that's
over to the
fine.
portal.
The reason I'm not finding it.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, it's that recent. It's like 4 o'clock or something. So but that wasn't help with Brian, so just make that clear. He's not hook on this one. If that's good with the commission, then that's the plan, Brian. We'll try to get both Hannahs to hear a thumbs up for questions by Friday. If there's no serious questions, then you can assume that we'll just next move forward with BSC being contacted and told go for it by us, and that we will definitely relay to them that we'd like to at least have the option, if they're gonna do a site walk, to hear our peer reviewer while they're on the site walk, what they're seeing and so forth. So we'll keep that in mind when we move forward with that.
So comments are to Hannah.
And comments to Hannah, one way or the other, even if you're just good with it, just so she knows everybody has had a chance to look at it, would be appreciated by Friday. Midday, that's saying. What's that?
We're same email right now. So just, okay, yeah.
Okay, and yes, I think Pamela's on that email thread now, or will they?
Yes, I
So
just got it.
she'll be seeing things too, which is great. And Neil, obviously.
Did you say Friday midday or?
Just to throw out a time, midday, if that's not gonna work for somebody by midday Friday, then let us know if you need till 4:59 or whatever works for you. I don't know your work schedules. But, okay, that's plan moving forward. We don't have any votes or anything on this particular item, so thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Okay,
You too.
okay. Any other notes that you want?
Nope.
Okay, so we'll move down the agenda as posted, and start with the continued hearing for a notice of intent for 1052 South Main Street, construction of a drainage pipe to replace the failing drainage pipe located within the 100-foot buffer zone to BVW. Applicants Glenn Wagner and Representative Chris Syriac from DPW in Bellingham. We have an update on this from Hannah.
Yeah, so I've had some discussions with DPW and just for anyone that's here for this particular hearing, if you haven't heard yet, we've been in a drought state since formally October 1st, but we haven't had rain, a real rain since the end of May. I looked it up. So we feel that there's no sense in having a discussion and deciding anything on it when we haven't had any rain to really see how things are functioning with the dam down. So we were hoping that you guys would be interested in maybe moving it to January, February, where like at least maybe some snow, a little rain, something, where we could actually assess it when it could potentially be a problem for the abutting neighbors.
And just again, for reference, as Hannah alluded to a minute ago, we are in a drought state officially, and she'll be explaining that as part of one of the other hearings that will become appointed with that, but it's not Bellingham saying we're officially in drought, or you all or us agreeing that, hey, it hasn't rained for a heck of a long time here, hearing it on the news, the weather channels and so forth. This is the commission that's appointed by the state and has officially declared certain town-specific areas to be in a certain state of drought, 1, 2, whatever. And so that affects what we as commission members get to do or not get to do as far as reviewing things like riverfront areas or lands bordering that, well, the delineations and the observations that are made by applicants and or ourselves is officially reflected in what this commission has done in declaring drought states 1 or 2 or whatever. And so that'll be explained a little bit more, as I said, in another hearing, but it does relate to this a little bit just from a practical point of view. I think the DPW is aware that there, should we see some need to do stuff as we monitor the situation closely with both the abutters and ourselves and the DPW. If more rain in the area or more water into the pond area does result in continued problems, and then what we've done, have the applicant do for relief by lowering the dam level to maximum doesn't do the trick, we will be asking the DPW again, as we have before, will they do an engineering study to get to the root of what the other issues are, be it upstream or dam or whatever. So we'll continue this hearing until a suggested time of date.
I should look at 2025.
Yeah, I think about my calendar too. Maybe that long. I'm sure one of you all online is already looking. We only have one hearing for the public record in December because we don't need them for Christmas. Just like we don't need them for Thanksgiving in November, so that's why we only have this meeting this month. Which we need to formally pass. Oh, well, not meeting.
So would we be meeting on the eighth?
That's a good question.
So,
I thought it's 2025 agenda in the portal, it's January 25.
January first is a Wednesday, so.
right, yeah, so if we
This is
approve
second and
it,
fourth Wednesdays.
Yeah.
But,
So
Eighth and
eighth and
22nd.
22nd, right?
okay, yes. I believe we, 22nd, so.
Yeah.
Since I'm not in a rush and I think we need a little more time, given this climate change, we know a lot. That may be the 22nd. Beg pardon?
It sounded like they were in a rush when you first came.
Oh, DPW?
Right.
Well, certainly applicants, I know some of them, some of the people that about the property, about the site are here in the room, and we certainly want to move along because they were experiencing flooding at that point in time, but DPW may have a difficult, somewhat more difficult time even engaging an engineer when we're not having actual problems to be, sorry, I think maybe, not exactly the same, but seeing the problem when they come in is helpful. But I'm open to suggestions, and if you want to suggest a different date for the 8th instead of the 22nd, I think January is a reasonable, it's only another month
Just
and a half,
thinking about that 6-incher we got in December of last year.
6
yeah,
inches.
it was the week,
Snow.
a couple days before Christmas, and then we had another one right after New Year's, so. If, it's hard to say, if the climate's predictable.
It's shaping up to be the same conditions as the ones that had.
Yeah,
Maybe we want to do in January.
yeah,
Hold on, say again, you're a little soft up there.
Maybe we want to do January.
Yeah, well, I think there was a question with the 8th or the 22nd.
But are we doing? In February?
that question mark, just maybe, I wasn't sure.
Oh, yeah, so I'm open to the commission suggesting a date. Right now, we have 8th and 22nd of January. Does anybody have a feeling?
I have a feeling the 8th is gonna be packed because we have this one meeting this month and then also only one meeting next month. So maybe move it to the 22nd.
That's my suggestion,
Okay.
for the same
All
reason.
right, we'll keep it for it. We are keeping it on the agenda because we do feel there's something we want to keep on taps with, and both public and DPW.
Sure.
We have that question. Yes, go ahead.
On this particular project, I have a note that the DPW needs to look into some ownership divisions. Has that happened?
I don't know. Any thought?
Yes.
The last thing I heard was that we couldn't find any records of the installation of the pipe, which is not shocking because it was before the 90s.
Do we have the property that's between the abutters properties and, I mean, the residents on Stephen Road who abut the pond area? And there's a band of land that is not Mr. Wagner's that seem to have been another property group or something that's actually some of the areas that's most affected because it's clogged up with trees and so forth, the wetland
Yeah.
area, but
It's a, there was a trust or a realty, it was one of those LLC
so
names,
that would,
so.
that the DPW or somebody town council for the DPW could look into perhaps, because
Right.
that ownership will be important.
if
Well, that was the original holdup, is who's doing this, who owns it, what permissions do we need?
Because
Who's
in
paying for it?
Norfolk Mosquito Control, a state-run department not subject to the bylaws that we do, could go in there and help clean up stuff. They've been participant in this project from early on and offer their support and their expertise in those areas, but we can't go to, as you said, somebody's property that we don't really know of who owns it and find out, start moving stuff around, even if we wanted to do that and it made sense from an Concom point of view. We need to make sure we're going on people's property who we understand and know who they are and that they have participated or agreed to or doing various things on the property. And we're not even sure if that would be the ultimate plan to remove just a little bit of stuff, a lot of stuff in this area. I'm not even sure of the boundaries of their property. And so we need to continue to, I think, ask the DPW to pursue that, keep us posted on it. And if they don't keep us posted, that we make a note to check back with them between now and January. So we're not in January saying, oh, the property, oh, nobody ever looked into it. They were busy,
Right,
too busy to do that.
okay.
I think that's a reasonable course of action. Thank you, Steve, for bringing that up. And
So the January 22nd continuation is also pending observable water flow. If we're still in a drought at that point, we'll revisit the observation needs done.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, so we can make some progress and continue to, again, keep this item on the agenda. We are, wanting to see a good resolution for the neighborhood and so forth, but I think, the vice chair's suggestion a couple meetings ago that we do this in a methodical way that is consistent with the practices of the Conservation Commission, which is, especially on someone else's property, that we have a thorough understanding what all the causes are. And while we know the pond is one of the culprits and the pipe coming out into the back of one of the abutters properties and into them, feeding into the wetlands when it drains off of Roberta, Stephen Road, and some of Blackstone perhaps, are all participating. There may be some other issues, beavers, the dam itself down there and so on. So an engineering study evaluating all that, paid for ideally by the town, who seems willing to help pursue this project to a degree, but it's gonna have to be, I think, nudged along. So if we don't have anything else on this particular, I will invite others that are in the room that would like to, have attended meetings so far or would like to it.
What property you're referring to that you don't know who owns it?
So right behind where your property is burned up, you have the pipe going out into the water. According to the maps we've seen of the area, Mr. Wagner's property is not much beyond the track in between your property and the track. There is a piece of land which is filled with tree stumps and other cuttings and so forth that's clogged up. It's a very wet area. We have to wade through it to get to the berm and the pipe. That area appears to be the area, it's, I don't know what shape it is, how many acres or part of acres it is, but it is in between there. And it runs up towards 126 a ways and stops. And then I don't know if that's Mr. Wagner's at that point in time. I don't have the map in front of me. But there is a parcel that is identified as somebody else other than Mr. Wagner owning it. And again, it's an LLC or something, which,
But that's where all the trees were cut down.
right, and that could be a problem for that person that owns that property, finding out that a bunch of trees on the property were cut down and left there and stumps are there and so forth. They weren't probably notified, maybe they were and agreed to it, Mr. Wagner or whoever cut them down. I'm not even sure, I
I
know,
know she owned all that property over there. That's not correct, huh?
It's P Farrell Realty Trust.
so it may be affiliated with Mr. Wagner in some way, we just don't know. And we want to be sure of that before we proceed, and we should be able to dig into this town council.
No, I understand that. I didn't know that. That's all. So it's new to me. What was the name again, Hannah?
P Farrell
Mm.
Realty. Let me pull it real quick.
Farrel.
Yeah, Farrell.
Yeah.
Good guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So as in butter, if you'd like to look into that and get your own information, that's certainly your call on that. Anybody else in the room have any other questions or? Oh, it's okay.
Did we reach out to that LLC because they have an owner address?
I don't think we have done that, but I would like, I would really like the applicants who are up here, Chris to, and DPW to take the push on that. I think that will keep them focused on the fact that we haven't forgotten this project. And while they have many other drainage projects in town, probably all of which are someone in this situation where there's been a drought. So people who've had other issues in town, and there are, as the town planner has pointed out before. Goodness knows, Rob's not here now.
He's
Okay.
doing an outreach at the
Yeah.
high school.
Anyway, that's probably put the hold on a lot of projects to try to figure solutions for the drainage issues if, you know, there's no water flowing to help identify things. So we will keep this on the agenda and keep a focus on it as we can and keep monitoring the situation and moving forward in some way, we hope.
That's January 22nd, you said? Yeah.
So we have a motion to continue the hearing officially until 22nd. Any other second from Hannah? I'm sorry, Ariana? And who made the motion? Oh, Don, thanks. Good move. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? We'll do a roll call again because we have Neil online. Neil, since you're online, you get to vote first.
Aye.
Thank you. Ariane?
Aye.
James?
Aye.
Steve? Aye.
I,
Aye. Anyone?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous vote. Thank you very much.
Thank
So,
you.
22nd. Thank you for attending. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to the next item on the hearing. Continued hearing for notice of intent, Route 126 Hartford Avenue, improvements along Hartford Ave within the 100-foot buffer zone. DPW is the applicant and town, and Keith Lincoln, Sheffield Engineering Associates is the representative. We have also received information very recently about this via our peer reviewer, who has sent a review of the project. However, as I noted, having seen it for the first time today, gotten into it a little bit, it didn't seem to have a point that I had made, which was the environmental impact. It's talked about the storm scepters and the device that will be proposed to be put in the edge of the road area to take the water from that area of Hartford Ave and 126 and disperse it into as it overflows or as it just goes out in a non-overflow situation into the Pine Barrens not wetlands, resource area, which is located just south of the Home Depot parking lot, for those that are wondering where we're talking about. That wooded area is actually a white pine barren, which is a relatively rare and a very large for its type of environmental location, pine barren in the state. And so as a resource area, we're concerned about the environmental impacts, which this peer review again said that they were covering in the scope when Hannah asked them about that in the last meeting where I brought it up as a concern, both myself and some other members, and it in the report from them does not seem to address it. So we will be having to revisit that report and talk to BSC as to whether they left off something or they didn't realize that we really meant environmental impacts and not just the engineering / storm scepter device and its impact. So
Seem like maybe information in order to do that. Their first comment where they say like provide a watershed map, storm scepter is not actually shown in the site plans. And then specifics of the stormwater or storm scepter unit are not included. So like if they don't have that, they might not be able to.
Yeah.
do that.
I'm looking at the same thing in under 4C. Sounds like they don't have enough information.
but
Make that
I didn't read them in as much detail. Did you say anything there? Either of you were looking at it about them saying after they don't have the map, we need this in order to do environmental impacts? Because I wasn't seeing any of the word environmental impacts in anything. I glanced through it again very quickly this afternoon.
I didn't see anything.
I
Okay,
don't see it directly, but.
we certainly don't have, if they need that information from the applicant, certainly they'll get it from the state and DPW or Keep Lincoln. But, well, I think I will ask Hannah to re-engage with BSC and say, we are going to get an actual environmental impact,
Yeah, just don't use that term.
so they're not done yet with this. This report is not complete in our view. Forget what the applicant, may or may not think about it. And see what they say to that and what that involves, and we'll get back to the commission members beyond the line. Okay, the applicant's representative not here online. They know that we were going to probably continue this based on the fact we received this information. We can't really discuss it fully so recently. We do require things to be sent us a little more timely. But we can continue it. However,
In the meantime,
yes, sorry, Steve.
item 4C is clear that they don't have structure details
Right.
that we have even asked for in previous meetings. So if we can get word back to the
They-
engineer to finish the job,
He received this at the same time you guys did,
We-
so,
Spec sheet for the actual.
You meaning the
drainage
DPW?
structure?
I sent it
Yeah,
to
that
DPW
and the
as well as
pipe,
Keith.
like
Both
where
of them.
where it comes out.
design isn't
Yeah,
drawing is.
that no, all its structural.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is, Hannah said point out, they got it the same time we did respect today, so, or
Yeah, it was today.
yeah, so let the applicant give a chance to respond and get this stuff out. If they don't, and we are talking at the same time to BSC, we'll make sure that they are emphasizing that they need that information.
Excuse me, Mike.
Yes, sorry, Neil, go ahead.
So they didn't request a continuance and they didn't show up?
No, they did.
No, they requested continuance. I was just saying that
Oh.
so we can continue. I meant to say, so they've requested continuance and I think they're, given the scope and the status of this overall project, they like to keep things moving along, but I don't think there's a sense of urgency. They have a lot of other approvals and so forth they're going through. So putting it on when it works for us, I think is the priority. The December 3rd,
11.
the 11th, thank you, the one meeting we have for in December, how's that looking as far as,
We currently have 45 Grace Ellen and then 0 Maple.
which,
So
if
45
you're a betting
Grace-
person, are pretty good that they will be continuing 0 Maple since they've done that continuously. Yeah, 45 Rebond is not necessarily a lengthy problem. So I think putting it on December is reasonable, and if they've got the information, we can review stuff. If they haven't, we can. All right.
Here I am.
Yes, I was going to ask you to take your thing over so people wouldn't be confused, but
I think they'll figure it out.
yeah. So, any other questions or comments about this particular hearing item? If not, I'll accept a motion to continue this hearing for the notice of intent for Route 126 Hartford Avenue to the evening of December 11th at 7 p.m. Exact times as it falls in the agenda, but just posted. I'm looking for a motion.
So
Ariane's.
Seconded.
Oh, I like to say it, flip a coin, 20 times, that's it, okay. James for a second, thank you. And, no other discussion, I'll call for roll call. Ariane.
Aye.
James.
Aye.
Steve.
Uh,
Don.
Aye.
Aye. Emma?
Aye.
And Neil.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So continue to the 22nd, I'm sorry, the 11th of December, so. December, yes, okay, thank you. Okay, oh, yours actually. such a work in this all. On December. Okay. Continued notice of hearing, move to the next item is continued hearing for a notice of intent for off Lake Street, Prospect Hill Village. In quotes, construction of 156 unit townhouse development, which will impact bordering vegetated wetland, bank, land under water bodies, waterways, bordering land subject to flooding and riverfront area. Louis Petrosi Wall Street Development Corp. is the applicant and the representative Paul McManus from Ecotech Inc. The latest information as of today with Hannah, again, sort of a last minute request, was, you can sum it up better than I did, or than I would, sorry.
He felt that there was nothing to discuss until there was a peer review scope and
This is Mr. Petrosi for the record.
yes. And I reminded him that he had given us a lot of updated documents since his last meeting, but he still felt that he did not want to speak until there was a peer review scope. So he asked to continue it to next month.
And the peer review scope is anticipated to be,
I got an email today saying tomorrow at noon.
That's gonna be a big peer review.
yes, now it should include septic as well as septic line proposal, which was not in the original.
Sewer line.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sewer line, thank you. Sewer line, part of the project as well as the housing part of the project. The previous peer review that they had prepared only included the housing, but as he has now combined the two notice of intents for the comprehensive project, I think that affects the scope big time. And while there may be lots of areas that have been reviewed as part of BSC's initial review of the same, part of the same site, which is a much smaller area that was by the same applicant made a while back, we will take that information of the peer reviews, we've already agreed to do that, that is still valid and isn't outdated or not valid anymore, but as part of the project, there's still, now he's looking at a much bigger area of a site with many, as you heard me rattle off there, areas that could be impacted that are under our jurisdiction. So this is definitely as understatement of the air. It's gonna be a big peer review. It's gonna probably take them quite a while to do. Hopefully the applicant will be patient during this and
Did we ask them to review the alternatives? Or are we asking them only to review what's proposed as the preferred alternative?
I have sent them so many documents, but I think the last one was whatever the final thing that Lou showed us. And I also spoke to Amanda on the phone today and wanted to clarify, what would be in the scope, and we felt that there was no need to repeat, like some of the delineation things that were done less than 3 years ago. So things that really shouldn't have drastically changed, they're not planning to put back in the scope unless you guys felt there was a concern about it.
but out of the, I forget how many acres this property is, but out of all the acres of the site, I think the area of the original project was like less than 20 houses in the Prospect Street, and I don't think even went over to Lake Street for access, was just off Prospect Street. That was a limited part of the, I'll call it the front, if you're standing on Prospect Street, part of the site. The housing project goes all the way back, as you've seen from the plans. So the scope is much larger, and there'll be lots of areas. I don't know how much more percentage wise the site is when you look at the whole thing now that he's proposing impacting as opposed to the previous area. But yeah, whatever they've, I think, reviewed before is still valid. I think they're not gonna make the applicant waste money on, or the peer reviewer on their time to review, re-review.
Well, we'll need to review it. I
Oh,
mean, 'cause
we'll review it, but
We've never seen it. I've
we don't
never
need
seen
to,
it.
sure, we'll do sidewalks and stuff,
Yeah.
but probably multiple ones, because this is a big site and you may want to bite it off in chunks that make sense as we move forward. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a very deliberate process, and it's got a lot of impacts areas, some of which we may have to wait till spring, see if there's around the pool, we're identifying things like that. And we do have two issues, one of which Hannah's gonna describe much more accurate. This is where I mentioned earlier in the meeting with the drought status and the commission that's involved in declaring drought status, and specifically Bellingham's. And the second is the legal issue that we've asked the town council to get into, and it appears there's some gray area that need to be clarified legally as to the ownership of the rail line,
Okay,
which our previous chair has adamantly stated to me was, to his knowledge, purchased by the Conservation Commission many years ago, and the actual rail. Yeah, well, whatever.
Spring Farm.
Yeah, whatever legally we have to do to make sure the ownership is very clear, defined, whether it is the applicant as he believes he owns rail line, or whether as the legal counsel / deed examiner, whatever we have to hire to make sure that we've done it, our due diligence, that we aren't having activity happen in resource area owned, conservation owned property is my priority. To make sure, if it is confirmed that the applicant owns it, then so be it, and then before knowing that that's been addressed. So there's a legal issue, and then the drought issue, I asked Canada to speak to. She's been in conversation with people from this.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, Neil, go ahead.
Revisit one thing you just talked about, the scope of the wetlands delineation. We're only speaking about not having anyone review the areas that have been previously reviewed, not the rest of the entire site that has many more wetland impacts.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely correct.
do we know when we'll get that scope?
Hopefully tomorrow noon.
Supposedly tomorrow noon.
Maybe.
Something to look forward to.
Are they gonna compile here's the data we had from this one section, and then here's the new data on one map set, so we can see the whole site?
If they haven't, we'll ask them to.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
We want to
that'd
look
be
at
fine.
comprehensive. You got that, Neil?
Yeah, we would want to see that all. We would, we would want, they would have to do that because they'd have to quantify all the impacts for the entire site.
Right, and it's
That's
simple.
in one place. They couldn't break it up into previous and, you know, newly defined potential impacts. So they'd have to do it all as one.
The entire site should be covered.
Yeah.
If they want to color code something that has been looked at in 2020.
Yeah, they could call it out on the map, what was previously done and what was done this time, and then quantify the entire, you know, they could even quantify the impacts by, you know, the old impacts plus the new impacts, that sort of, they can disseminate that to us however they choose.
Yeah, and it's our job obviously to make sure we feel comfortable the whole site's been reviewed, and if there's an area they don't think it's been addressed or should be, we can certainly bring that up to the peer reviewer. For Pamela and Hannah, and just so that you're on board with this, so the applicant is required to pay, as part of the DEP regulations, any peer review fees that seem reasonable. So Louis Trosi and his representatives will review the proposal, provided they have the SC. If they don't like it or something about it, they don't like, they have the right to address that in whatever way they choose, but we ultimately have the right as a commission to request and require a peer review that is reasonable, not unreasonable. And we have had very good success with the SC's environmental impact part of peer review. They used to do engineering as well. And the planning board, being the people that get the engineering part of things as part of their review, have maybe chosen another company to use they prefer for that part of it. But the environmental impacts, we were comfortable with the SC and would like to use them. If there's an issue with them not being able to do the scope project, they would tell us. I think they have their plate pretty full and they've had some staffing shortages recently, I think a little bit, but we'll keep people posted on that. And then if the peer reviewer provides a reasonable proposal and the applicant moves forward with it, as we just did with the previous one with the improvements on Hartford Ave, if you don't see any, this one will probably require some discussion in a hearing. It's going to be bigger and more complicated than the one up at North End 10 that we just passed around. So, okay. So we'll be continuing to address the legal, and we will look at the drought. But Hannah, the other thing about the drought.
Yeah, so just a little backstory to the drought. So this is a state level task force where they look at the precipitation from the previous month, and then they'll determine if we're in a drought state. For Bellingham, we provided a bunch of data at the end of September, I believe, or photo evidence, I should say. And we were not picked to be labeled as at least a level 1 drought for September, but then we were added to the most recent map as a level 2, which is more serious than level 1. And when something is labeled level 1 or level 2, oftentimes any hearings that are in the process or anyone that's filing during those times, they can't state that there's what used to be a wetland is now not a wetland anymore, or used to be a perennial stream, now it's not there anymore. And it relates to this project because it heavily impacted his design that he created based on a certain stream. So I had reached out to DEP because they did not want to backlog Bellingham to September 1st, even though we had evidence of it. What is complicated about it is that Bellingham is part of two watershed basins. The northern region is the Charles River, the southern is Blackstone. And all of Blackstone's watershed was labeled as a level 1 drought on September 1st, but Charles River wasn't. And we got booted to the Charles River. So
they basically didn't differentiate the town properly by dividing into two watersheds, and then one thing with Charles River North part of town and the other part with this site in it, the southern part of town to the Blackstone River Valley. So, that's
right.
And
so-
this. if I
Yeah,
can-
and this tributary feeds down towards the Blackstone eventually, doesn't it?
Correct, correct. It's part of the Blackstone, and that's why it's vital to understand.
Right, so I had reached out asking if there was any way for us to make sure that the southern part of Bellingham, not just for this hearing, but if there was any hearing that would be impacted like this, could be included to that drought status. And I've not heard back yet, but so stay tuned.
Did you ask them about the USGS map question?
If it's considered perennial because it's on the map.
This is A and this is C for the regulation.
Oh,
Yeah, the
No,
interpretation
oh.
of that regulation.
no, I did not ask that.
Do
Sorry.
you have that in a form that you can refer to it like tomorrow or the next day if you're reaching out to them again, or do you want to hurry on to send that again?
Did you send it to me in email? I think we just talked about it.
If we talked about, it,
They
you,
sent like an email that wasn't super clear about that. I just like, because we were like in the middle of talking about it. So
Yes.
like, here's a picture.
knowing that she's where she is with the stats, my question to you is, can you shoot her a quick email to get her up to speed on that particular
Yes.
aspect so she has fresh right in hand? So she can, that'd be really helpful. That'd be good. So we cover all bases with DEP at the same time that we can. So we are moving forward both on the legal aspects, which may affect the applicant's current proposed project with the alternative that they've chosen, 6 or whatever it was, as well as the drought / perennial stream effect, which would impact because it goes right across the middle of the site, and the applicant has taken a stand which may not be environmentally correct with DEP, maybe, we'll have to see how they review our information and correction about the watershed area and the other point that Ariane brought up about the GIS maps, and so GS?
Yeah, it technically is, but it's USGS.
USGS, I know something. Probably nothing too great. So we will be looking to continue this hearing. Since the applicant is not in the room, other than describing where the commission is acting on things and for the public record, we can't discuss the project and review the project without the applicant being present. It's not legal.
From a process perspective,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. So we're going to be receiving a scope. Yet this question as to whether or not it's a perennial stream or not, and whether we're in a drought or not, would that have an impact on how we're assessing this proposal that we're gonna receive tomorrow?
Yes, I think it would potentially, because if it is viewed in either of these two aspects are viewed as not being what the applicant is currently operating under for their proposed project, we would certainly inform them of one or the other or both, if that's the case, and then give them the option to proceed with the process that they want to proceed with and potentially deal with the impacts of whatever, or make changes to the scope of the proposal, issue a different plan, contest it, whatever. We're just gonna have to see how it plays out. But certainly the BSC proposal potentially would change, and I
I
think,
suspect it probably would.
Right.
Given the number of things that are on. the
I
table.
think the drought side of things is something the BSC can focus on more than the legal railway line implications, because that will be a decision that's maybe pending for a while. I don't know how quickly they'll resolve that to clearly identify our ownership, but we could certainly throw that into the mix and mention that might be might be affected with the rail line, but we don't know one way or the other. So, but the drought situation, BSC may be very well aware of too. They're in the environmental field. They get these reports about drought stuff, and I'm sure it's affecting other projects they're working on too, not in Bellingham. So, we'll just keep them posted on that, and then they can still issue the, proposed scope of work, and because it might stay the same. It might be that both are negative and the applicant is perfectly right in both aspects, and then we don't want to hold up the DSC proposal if it's.
Well, but how can we vote on, how can we have a discussion about a proposal if we're not even sure it's covering the right,
Well, we're gonna,
watershed questions that we
which is
have?
something to consider in deciding when we want to continue this hearing till, so the applicant certainly can be here, and we will have the information. How will we have gotten feedback back from DEP about the drought thing, and are we now in the Blackstone River for that project area, and how does that affect things, how far back can that be? We won't know that for a little while. We'll probably know it before the next meeting. I would assume within,
I hope I get a response before
yeah,
then.
big, in the next couple of weeks for sure.
Okay.
So I think putting it off till the next meeting, give the scope of the project and the fact that we need to hear some stuff back. And then affect BSC's proposal potentially, or the applicants, or both. I think it makes sense to put it off until, the December 11th meetings. As the
Or
next,
further.
or further potentially, but we can always bump it if we don't have the information. We just say we were waiting for more information to continue on. Hopefully the applicant will agree to that. I would think that they would want to, and both they've got invested and they understand that they may not like what we're doing.
May I ask a question?
Sure,
Is there a timeline that you have to vote on this?
as long as the applicant has agreed to continue it, we can continue. As we have on one project where the applicant, the planning board on much more complicated issues. We were satisfied on the conservation side, but we have to continue because we won't close until the planning board has. We've continued one hearing for one site 10 times, 0, and so that's.
We had a hearing open for 6 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
so there isn't particular timeline as long as we observe the correct procedures, which are to make sure the applicant agrees to a continuation. Which in 99.9% of the time, they would do that because they want to see the project move forward, even if it's slowed down because we have to postpone for our reasons or their reasons, or in this case, reasons of getting more information. So there's not a specific timeline as long as which we will be doing, are following procedures. In this case, the applicant himself initiated the request for the continuation.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
We're talking about the wetlands and so on,
Mhm.
but he also, I've been going to the meetings,
Mhm.
he's also suggested that he would put a sewer line in around the railroad bed, going up Blackmar Street to Cross Street to that pumping station,
Mhm.
which has failed.
Yeah.
And it's already taken care of 2 areas in Bellingham. And I don't think the pumping station is large enough to
Right.
take on all of
That's-
this, and we've got Silver Lake as well as this wetland area.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's one that's been mentioned in a couple of meetings already. I think the applicant's response to that question was raised by somebody, was else in the group, in the room, was that he thought it could, and that somebody had looked at it, but to be honest,
There was a review.
A review, yeah.
They did review it and they said that if he were to do that, he would have to replace it.
Pumping station?
So
That's
He
through
would
the
have to
planning board,
replace it.
right?
when you say
That's-
they,
Yeah,
who is that?
Sorry, planning board,
yeah, the planning
Or
board, right? And
their reviewer.
their reviewer, so I think there's a planning board meeting tomorrow
Tomorrow.
night, and it was on the agenda. I don't know if they've asked to
think
continue. or
Tomorrow.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
and
if
just
they're
to
asking.
clarify, Steve did ask the question, why you mean the applicant would have to replace it?
Yes.
Okay, at their cost. So as part of the improvements, if you want to have this big project go forward, it sounds like the planning board is requiring that he replace the pumping station, so it doesn't meet the load now, or it's failed because of other reasons, or adding this to it would cause it for sure to fail, whatever the reasons are. Planning board is the initiator on that, not the conservation commission, although there's sewage and there's a septic line that is being proposed as part of the project. But that down Blackmar to Cross Street and hooking into the pumping station there is something we know that the planning board is on top of. It's in their jurisdiction, not ours, and they will stay on top of it. So planning board meetings is where you want to go to if you're interested in the pumping station.
Doing both.
Yeah, well, you certainly come to both. I'm not saying don't come to us anymore. We like to have people in the audience. But just to be clear, we are aware of the problem. It's been expressed by a number of people or butters or property owners in the area. And we are very much aware that the planning board is on top of this. Obviously, they're requiring things. So yeah, stay tuned and we'll see how that goes. Well, it's having to do all the other sewage from there. That's going somewhere and
It went down the hill on Cross Street and went into the brook.
So, Mr. Chair, for clarification for the audience, the pathway that he's proposing the septic line on is the area that is being contested by us because we believe we own it.
That was one of the legal
Portion of it.
being
Yeah.
reviewed. Yeah, we need to be careful here. We need to not, we're going beyond discussion of
Okay.
facts and status that the Conservation Commission is just responsible for, and we're getting into areas that, as an applicant, they may be entitled and required to be present for us to participate. So I want to be very careful, meaning will not violate that and mess up the whole process, which is moving forward. So I'm going to restrict questions to, if you're a butter in the audience, you have a specific question, we've answered your pumping station one, I think. Please raise your hand and I'll call on you and see if it seems legit, sir.
Yeah, I apologize. I have serious hearing problems. I don't pick up everything, but I'm trying.
Okay, you can certainly come up a row or two in the future if you'd like to sit closer. We don't
It's
mind.
not gonna help.
Okay, sorry.
We've got hearing aids cranked to the nines and I'm still missing. From the very map that was on the wall, that whole property is a zone 2 water protection area for drinking water resources. I have the map in front of me,
Okay.
but I got. That might be it, yeah.
And
this
Mr.
is-
Chair?
Yes, sir. Neil.
We're not discussing this, are we?
No, sir, I can't really respond to that because that's getting into the property specifically, and without the applicant in the room, it's not legal for me to discuss the hearing really. So certainly, if you have a concern, you're always, and I'll take this as a fact to anybody in the audience, you're always able to reach out to the Conservation Commission Administrator, Hannah Chase in this case, and relay concerns electronically, sending a copy of the map or reference to where a map is, or something else you've observed on a site walk, anything like that is the right and privilege of anybody that's a resident of town or even non-resident, to relay right to the commission, and the administrator will pass along to the commissioners. Again, we even in emails have to be very careful not to discuss things amongst
I
ourselves.
understand that, but my question was more of a general question though. Building is allowed in a zone 2 water protection area for drinking water?
I don't know the regulation well enough to answer that, but we will look into it.
That's a pretty critical question.
Sure, sure.
That's a general question, that's not,
Right, and just as a general reference point, our peer reviewer, which we are anticipating receiving a proposal for the scope of it, is aware of all regulations. That's what they're hired for, to be experts on. If something, as you asked as a general question, are not site specific to this one, although I know you are concerned about this one, but since we're not discussing this site, but as a general question is housing development allowed in, was it zone 2, you said?
it's water protection, drinking water resource area, zone 2.
Right, is that permitted as a general question to the conservation administrator, which is the way I'm directing this. If you see, I'm sort of focusing this away from a discussion. We'll look into it and make sure that both the peer reviewer and ourselves are aware of it. And thank you for a general question like that. I don't have the answer, so I'm not gonna make one up. But we can, if you leave your information with Hannah, she can get back to you directly. She knows, okay, there you
Back
go.
and forth.
Okay, good. So we're on top of that. Anything else, sir?
I just had a question because I couldn't attend the last meeting. The scope of the peer review, is that confined to the development itself? Or does it include, I know there was some discussion around traffic improvements at the intersection of.
We have nothing to do with traffic improvements. That's planning board. So planning board meeting is where you want to go if you're concerned about traffic. Thank you for the question. Beg pardon? Barnett, yes, thank you. It's probably the same location, same time. Any other questions? Commission members, any questions? Otherwise, we will, at the applicant's request, continue this hearing for notice of intent off Lake Street, Prospect Street, quote, Prospect Hill Village, end quote, to the evening of December 11th, to see how we are getting information from things we're concerned about, and we'll
Second.
So who made the first? Ariane, thank you, Ariane, and second, Steve, thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor? Sorry, Steve,
Okay.
yes, you can be first.
No.
Don't look
Neil
at me, jump
first.
around again.
Neil
Steve
first.
is an aye. James,
Aye.
Ariane,
Hi.
Don,
Aye.
Mike, aye. Neil?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everyone. Unanimous vote, December 11th at 7 p.m. Exact time. We're at the agenda.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, everybody in the room. who's
Yeah.
Here,
Thank you for that.
feel free to keep posted, stay online, check the agendas on the upcoming December 11th meetings.
No, I like this one.
It's always good to hear.
Yeah, it wasn't, yeah.
They check the things and they got good points. What's up?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Have a nice night. Happy Thanksgiving.
Have fun.
Try not to. So we'll do, proceed to the next one, continue hearing from notice of intent of 175 North Street, construction of a single family dwelling, septic system barn, not for animals, and utilities. James McGrath, 165 North Street is the applicant with representative William Hesson and Land Planning Inc. Gentlemen, thank you for coming in. So we've had a peer review.
Response.
Response. I know the word was together. And you have a response to the response?
Yeah, we prepared some info which we submitted.
Right.
last week.
Yeah, I looked at some of it. I may actually read through it all once quickly. At least. Commission members have, familiar with what was in the put in front of 175?
Yeah.
Initial questions for perhaps Bill to respond to immediately as opposed to whatever, after whatever else he has to say. Or else.
I'd also like to introduce Scott Hymas here. He's our wetland scientist.
Scott, good to see you. And James. Let's see. Okay, do you want to bring up any points while the commission is reviewing their notes and or thoughts on what we've seen?
Yeah, well, Scott can talk a little bit about the stuff they're looking for, the existing conditions, plant communities and stuff.
Okay.
So I did do another site inspection and went out there and described the vegetation present within wetlands A and B. Wetland A is to the north of the proposed house lot. It's basically a red maple forest. It has heavy shrub understory. And I described that in the letter that I submitted. Wetland B is basically a shrub swamp with a fringe forested wetland around it. The shrub swamp is dominated by buttonbush. It's exclusively, which is an obligate wetland plant, and it grows in standing water. For that reason, it's very likely that wetland B would function as a vernal pool. It is identified as a potential vernal pool of a natural heritage program. There was algae that you could see on the stems of the buttonbush that indicated the water level was pretty high in there. It's probably a difficult one to certify because it's pretty large and it's very difficult to get out there, and it's probably pretty deep water. We do have water, so.
Which one is A and B?
B is to the south of the proposed, closest to North Street. And there is a certified vernal pool to the east of wetland B on the other side of the abandoned railroad tracks. That is a certified vernal pool there.
Yeah, railroad tracks. I see a straight line with dotted lines to the right of the map.
Yeah, it's often
the vertical one.
Yeah.
That's the old railroad.
Okay, so that's the railroad. So why don't you just point real quickly, Bill, to the wetlands areas as described the AB.
A is to the north of the site, B is to the south toward North Street.
Okay, everybody see that by hand pointing? Okay, good. Okay, thanks. Continue, sorry.
So I did look at the proposed development in relationship to the vernal pool habitat that could be provided by wetland B, and they do maintain, for the most part, 100-foot buffer from the edge of standing water, which would be the shrub swamp area. So I think that would be a good mitigation measure to protect anything that does breed in there. And then we were also proposing some additional infiltration of roof runoff, as well as a swale to capture any runoff from grassed areas and pavement, which would help with groundwater recharge as well.
No proprietary devices to treat for salt or anything along that, what is, looks like a very long drive. How long is that driveway gonna be? Or is it?
Roughly 600 feet.
And our, scroll back, sorry, yeah. So. Proposed pools, is the pool proposed or the pool already there?
There's nothing there now. It's,
So the pool is also, so all these are new structures, correct?
Yeah.
All of your paved areas are new paved areas. So that's, 600-foot driveway with a parking area in front of it and so forth. It's gonna be both plowed and or treated. I assume if we ever get snow, who knows if we're going to, but can need to be treated, and it's on both sides are sensitive areas as you go down this long driveway. So we just want to keep that in mind as salt, sand, whatever is used to treat the driveway for safety. Obviously, you want to kind of say, can't say don't ever salt your driveway, but salting your driveway in a area that is bordering along wetlands, well, pretty much the whole length of it is, a little bit of a concern, I think, potentially. Somebody refresh me because I'm blanking. What is the Bellingham's? No disturb around a vernal pool, 100 or is it 50? I know we're stricter than the state.
Section of the bylaw?
We, I believe, referred to it because we've had vernal pools come up before and we have a do not disturb area, but I think it's stricter than the states. I think when Bellingham did its bylaws, we specifically spent quite a while talking about vernal pools and the protection of them.
But the state doesn't have any setback for vernal pool.
Right, so they're seeing nothing there. We certainly, as towns, were entitled to do, and we did back in the day, when we did the bylaws, created something that was stricter. We couldn't be less than the state, right? Just for public record and new commissioners, and obviously we can be less than the state's requirements, but in many cases, or in a number of cases, I won't say many. I was on part of, that was one of the first things I did as commissioner, was join on that review with consultants and with reviewing many other towns' bylaws and so forth, coming up with a set of Bellingham bylaws, which were passed in town meeting 8 years ago. There were additional protection levels added for a number of things, and vernal pools was one. And we have 100, okay, thank you, this is our bylaws, right?
Yeah.
So 247 247-25 vernal pool associated 100-foot buffer zone and no disturbance zone. It's called stars, a new member, finding out, put it in anybody else. Thank you, Pamela. So, the 100-foot is certainly good. We love more protection around vernal pool than anywhere else in the most sensitive areas, or among the most sensitive conservation areas. I just want to be clear on what that was. I know that you referred that as a good start, and it is, more than a good start, the necessary start. So, okay,
Mr. Chair,
yes, Steve.
does this site visit happening during the drought period present any changes?
Well, that's a good question.
Especially if we're talking about potential vernal pools?
Well, a vernal pool to be certified and or declared one by us and in agreement with the applicant or the wetland scientist would have to be done in spring. This hasn't been done, so I think that's the first stumbling block to proceeding in a timely manner for approvals and so forth. If we have a vernal pool that is potentially within 100 feet of an area that you're proposing to do disturbance, we would want to verify whether it's a vernal pool. If it is, it gets protection. If it doesn't meet the criteria for whatever reason, then you get more of a buffer than you would have had to have provided before, that you don't have to do as much protection. But I don't see any way to accelerate the process.
Did you already say that Heritage already said it was
Did they certify?
certified or no?
No, it's not
Oh,
certified.
okay.
It's not certified by them, but we don't have to meet the state criteria per se. If it is, it's very helpful,
Well, you
but
can confirm it off-season staining, soil sampling. but-
right, we can try and do that. It's usually preferred to do it during the spring when you can really see for sure.
100-foot buffer zone is based on the maximum elevation. I guess the water level, it's not stated that way, but implied.
Right, and from my observations out there, that's where the shrub swamp buttonbush area, it was basically in the depression, and then the slope goes up with a forested fringe. So that's why I assumed that the edge of the shrub swamp was the limits of the water, which kind of makes sense based on what I saw up there with the algae on the.
And where's that located on the map?
It would be about 50 feet
Is it-
south of the wetland line.
Is it in here?
It's further,
Further south,
Yeah, right. Close to the street.
so down into this area.
So basically, it'd be all through this area through here, and it extends almost all the way to the north street.
Oh, okay, that's why I was thinking this.
Neil, you're gonna be up for a sidewalk for this? You available in the near future?
Could be.
What are your thoughts on the vernal pool issue question identified from our point of view, confirming we're checking right now to see if BC and they're responsible, or perhaps you remember, did they refer the vernal pool potential in responding, like try to confirm it or not confirm it, or From their
They-
sidewalk
Yeah, they wanted it to be evaluated as potential vernal pool.
and their recommendation for timing for that, did they put that in?
I don't think they had a recommendation.
Yeah, I mean,
Have you had?
Well, we wouldn't be
National
able to do
heritage?
any review now until March.
issued?
well, yes, I'm hearing a couple comments from James and Ariane that there
No
may be
effect
some
on
measures to
something.
start to determine confirmation based
I
on,
already have it.
I believe if I'm summing up right, elevation in that area that has been potentially identified as well as standing watermarks on trees, soil, so forth.
Well, we can get an indication what we think that it might have the potential to be a vernal pool, but you can't validate it until you have,
Wildlife and water in the spring.
yeah, you have to have, you know, you have to see how much water it holds and for how long and what kind of creatures may or may not live in it.
And with the leaf cover this year, we're not gonna,
Well, you really can't see it till you worry.
I mean, you can get a sense of it. You know, at this point, but, it couldn't, I don't believe that it could be certified. Without, you know, validation of the animals that are living in it. I think
Okay, so
I think that's the real test, is you actually have to go out there and find.
Right, so.
By
even if we got rainfall
amphibians
now, it's not
and
gonna be valid
invertebrates.
Because the creatures won't come out until the
Can
spring.
this be parallel path, like the? From my understanding of the applicant and the representatives, they're already meeting our 100-foot.
Are the, Steve said that they weren't necessarily. Did you say, when you looked at the map, I suppose I heard somebody say they're not meeting it, 100 foot. Are you meeting the 100 foot all the way around the vernal pool?
I believe we are. The only potential area would be right where the lawn area is there. That's just within the 50 foot.
It's a proposed lawn area, there's not a lawn there now, it's just.
Correct.
Okay.
Close lawn area.
This.
Well, if it's down in this area here.
Is that where the vernal pool is?
It extends,
Up to your right, down, I think.
yeah, further to the right and then all the way down to North Street. It's a very large shrub swamp area there. That's a potential vernal pool.
But how far, how close going north towards the barn area is it? Yeah,
50 feet probably south of the wetland line.
the wetland line is that, which one's the wetland line down, you can see it there?
WFB 6.
WFB 6.
Use that top.
WFB 5.
So go 50 feet south of that.
South of that.
So, okay, and that distance to the area of disturbance slash proposed lawns?
25.
Yes, it'd be,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
50 feet from that wetland line. Yeah.
So if they're already meeting the 100-foot. Or if we can have them push the lawn, if we're.
Well, that's my question to the applicant. If you want to move this process forward, if you can make sure that you're clear of. Again, we have not certified the exact extent of the vernal pool, which is an issue. If it extends further north in the spring, because you can't get a good, really good look at it now, or it doesn't appear to, or when it was, is it flagged per se, the vernal pool perimeter? If we do a sidewalk, is the vernal pool currently flagged?
No, it's the edge of water is not flagged, just the wetland around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
and half of it's not on our property,
It's what?
not on our property.
Ah, okay. So who owns property just south of that area then?
Neighbors.
Neighbors, are they aware of the project and participate, and they've been notified, obviously, as butters? Well, we're not,
All right, how can we go on somebody else's property?
we would contact them and ask for permission. We would don't want to go on to someone's property that's not even an applicant, nevertheless a neighbor, you know, without.
Yeah, I have no problems moving the grass up.
Yeah, I think what we need to do is establish the northern edge of the potential vernal pool before we do anything else. Because without a certification in the springtime that, you know, we can validate with wildlife, unless you would want to wait till springtime. And we could maybe draw the line up clearer then, we'll still want to get now that I know there's another property owner.
turns up and goes into the disturbance area.
Is the property line marked here, Bill?
That's the
Yeah,
line.
this is the bearings and distances, the heavy line. I'll play over here.
Yeah.
Here's the property line to the road.
Okay, so the southern part only of the wetland slash vernal pool is the neighbors, but the area to the north,
Yeah.
closest to the, within 100 feet, is in your property, correct?
You're sitting in here for the vernal pool, so.
Okay, but on your property.
Yes.
Okay.
That-
Yeah, we don't flag the whole thing.
Well, no, on the northern side of it, as I said, is the critical area. Anything that's south of that is gonna be further away. If you're at 100 feet from the area of disturbance with the northernmost closest part, then I think you're good to go. But if you're not,
Mr.
it'd
Chair,
be nice to know that. Yes.
if this is the 50 feet off wetland and it turns up and goes past the disturbance, there's nowhere near 100.
Well, that's there's 50 feet of wetland approximately between the vernal pool and the edge of the delineated wetland. So that's not a 50-foot vernal pool line, it's a 50-foot setback from the wetland.
Okay, that statement still applies.
Well, I think without knowing the northern edge of what is really the vernal pool, where that curve is and how much of it goes up and whether it should be more and how far you'd have to push the grass back and so forth, needs to be clear for your sake as well as ours, so you're not pushing stuff back, you don't have to.
You
The
can,
question is whether we can really delineate it before accurately delineate wetlands vernal pool in this type of time of the year with a drought on.
you can see the depression from.
I think this one you can because it's so obvious of an area.
Yeah, I mean, on a plan, you're right, those look pretty explicit. When you go on site, if they flag that and then accurately mark it, measured off, so we have a, surveying mark that's accurate, for the northern closest point, then we'd be prepared to, I think, accept that as the northern edge without certifying it as a vernal pool, just assuming it is and playing it safe. If we're less than that, then we gotta come back and revisit this and decide what you wanna do for a scope or potential change, or whether you wanna wait, because the commission, I think, is valid, or right in saying that at least from some of the members who've spoken up, that we don't certify a vernal pool until the springtime as a real vernal pool. We can maybe get the border of it satisfactorily with the GIS and satellite imaging, and if it seems acceptable, I think it would require a site walk by us, at least that part of the property. It wouldn't hurt for us to see the rest of the scope. It seems like a reasonable.
Why is the vernal pool or wetland surrounded by priority habitat, but not part of the priority habitat? Is it something that doesn't like water?
Well, priority habitat, I believe, is the eastern box turtle. They wouldn't tell us, but I think that's what it is out there.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And, it's a terrestrial species, so, don't like the water.
Well, let's get drinks. Okay, so, I think one of the things we need to do is decide on a site walk, and which case we would ask Mr. Helsing as the lead on this. What would it take time wise for you to have identified what you all think? So we go out and see something that's flagged on that northern edge, just your discretion.
This week,
Okay, so Scott can get out there this week.
yeah.
So if he can get there this week, he'll flag the edge.
So anytime after this Saturday, potentially this Saturday or anytime thereafter is good for you.
Yeah.
Sidewalks usually are done by our commission on Saturdays, Saturday mornings, 8:30 or so, it's usually when we start doing them by tradition and availability.
We're probably getting 2 sidewalks, right? Probably one in like the next couple of weeks and then one in the spring.
Correct.
Yeah, potentially the vernal pool certification would need to happen, unless it's clear that they're well outside the 100-foot, in which case it doesn't hurt to certify it down the road and we can do it off the sidewalk. I'm sure the applicant wouldn't care. To certify a vernal pool in town is good from our sake, be marked by us, even if heritage didn't make it, but.
I would also mark the areas where the foundation is gonna.
Yeah, that's all staked.
Okay.
We had that ready for a
And the
sidewalk.
driveway is staked along that section, at least from the heavy dotted area up, yes, somewhat along there.
Say that again?
The driveway on both sides is staked.
Yeah, stake the center line of the driveway, the house, the barn and the, are we doing septic system too? I think it was the house and the barn, that gives you.
So if we walked in along the proposed driveway, it's accessible, I assume we can walk it at least, and,
And actually Jim will meet you there.
yeah, right, well, we certainly would hope so, yeah, and then we could potentially look at how close the driveway appears to be from the wetlands,
Yeah.
on
How
the
much
side there.
limit of disturbance is any of that, like where
Yeah.
your sedimentation line is gonna be?
Yeah, we didn't stake that in the field. Yeah.
Might be
Okay.
smart just to get.
He's in the
that.
event that should change.
Okay,
There's always stake structures and you can work from that just to get a feel for what's out there.
I mean, we'll want to, one of the things I'm sure the commission will want to see is where you closest point of grass proposed,
to
new grass
that.
to the potential vernal pool where it would be staked. So if you want to put a couple of flags along what you think is going to be your area of grass that you propose, fine. If you've already pre-measured it, it's 100 feet or more, even better.
Yeah.
Or if you got-
Disturbance.
Or
Yeah,
if you got
very
a rattle
close.
can, you just want to spray a line, just this is where it is, that's fine with me too.
You guys will go there this Saturday?
Well, that's what we're gonna take a poll of the commission, see if we got enough members to make a move. If not, whether it works for them. I know the 26th is out, but that's Thanksgiving and, oh, yeah, sorry, wrong month. Christmas. The 28th.
Sure.
Yes.
The statement that Natural Heritage Program has in fact identified this wetland as potential vernal pool, does that change our position? Or what we have to do?
I think they actually
use like aerial images to just point
Is they just say potential, they don't
Right,
actually. say-
and they,
certified vernal pool next to it, and I am curious as to whether they're the same, and they just didn't delete.
The railroad runs in between,
Yeah,
so it's a big belt.
yeah, and that's a totally different, environment than this shrub swamp area over there.
That's fine.
Neil, what's your availability in the next couple Saturdays?
It's,
Oh,
16th, 23rd, 30th?
16th, 23rd is okay.
16.
Anybody else in the commission? Let's just start with the 16th. There was show of hands. Anybody available on the 16th? That's the Saturday, approximately 8:30, probably take half an hour more, 45 minutes.
2 hours with us.
2 hours with us. Again, we don't discuss the project just family period, we'll review it. If there's factual questions, we certainly ask both Mr. McManus, right? McGrath, sorry, I know it's a Mc, McGrath, who would be here, and if you'll be able to. So, we can ask them, questions, but it needs to be factual questions, and we won't, discuss beyond that until we come back to the meeting. But at least it's good to get eyes on things and so forth. Hannah, you're certainly invited. I don't know what your availability is, but definitely would like to have you there if you're able to. So it seems like, Don, you pretty good?
I don't know, I'm trying to check with my son right now.
Okay. Well, tell him.
He's buying a house.
He knows what's good.
Yeah, he closes on the house and I told him I'd help him move, so.
Oh, so you can enlist commission members to help you.
Yeah.
You show up with 5 or 10 bodies and some of your.
Yeah.
I just didn't throw you all under the bus. Okay, Steve, what's your availability on 16?
Good, I raised my hand. 8:30.
Okay, yeah, sorry. So looks like we have a group that can make it this Saturday, 8:30. You guys have everything fine? If there's a problem flying stuff, let us know, because we really want to see stuff that we talked about. Identified, so makes our walk go a lot more quickly. And so 8:30, where would you suggest we park 5 or 6 vehicles?
Park in the street.
Irene Court,
Yeah, Irene Court.
walk up the, yeah.
It's right
Walk up
across.
North Street from Irene Court, park on Irene Court. So Irene Court's dead end. You can Google that back here. I mean, that's our 10 people there.
Literally right
Thanks for this meeting.
Right, right up the railroad track.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
It's actually perfect. Yeah.
you walk up the road, check, you walk down North Street for the other members who may not be familiar with the area or Hannah's around town,
Park in my driveway by all means,
which is right at the edge
one
of
seventy-five, yeah.
175. So if you want to be in there, you're real close. Whatever works for you all. If you run into a problem, call my cell phone number, give me a call, and we'll helicopter you and what else.
And the 40s where you jackets.
Yeah, it's gonna be chilly, but it's better than it was 28 this morning. So. All right, so we're on for the 16th for a site walk. We don't really vote on that, I don't think we just refer to it. 8:30, let's say, and I don't think we have anything else that we would need to site walk, so we're restricted to that. I'm not big on adding things as a surprise, and I don't think there's anything else that we need to see. Maybe the next month we'll see, but okay, so 8:30 site walk, 175.
Just want to meet at Irene Court, just so we're all together. Do that,
Yeah. Irene Court, lots of park in there.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, and yeah, all right. So I will make motion or accept a motion to continue this hearing for 175.
More question first?
No, I'm sorry, you exceeded your time limit. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Are there any other issues that the commissioners have at this point?
Needing to revisit the peer review and your response again. I did glance through, but I will want to reread it. I didn't see initially anything else that jumped out at me. Other than
I
how
think we
interesting.
addressed pretty much everything they had brought up. I think.
Yeah, I think you pretty much did, yeah, you answered the question about the barn, because somebody raised whether animals really in that, and that's been said, we know, so that we make care of animal waste and so forth, as well, which is, obviously, if it's used as a garage for, let's say, repairs of vehicles, then oil and, protection from spills and stuff would be a concern, being near the sensitive areas, but otherwise, any other commission members have any questions right off? Issues that they want to have the applicants prepared for to respond, not at a sidewalk, because that would not be appropriate, but provide to Hannah back a response if needed to share. Okay, all right, so otherwise. Oh, sorry, Ariana, what a surprise, you're so far over there, you're not whispering my ear, okay, go.
Yeah. Do we have a copy of this determination from Natural Heritage regarding the priority habitat?
Yeah,
Has it been
I
shared?
emailed it to Hannah.
That was
months
probably
ago.
one of the first things he
So
gave me.
is
It's
this,
just not in the same folder, so.
Correct.
okay, so it's available on the portal or the email?
Like probably the first hearing that they
Yeah.
opened up.
Okay,
It
so
was
if you
part
go
of
back
that
a couple of
application.
hearings for the site, you see more information available. And just if it's possible, Bill, to have provided to one of the two gentlemen who will be there, a set of plans similar to that with some flagging on it that you might have done so that we can sort of scope out where we are.
Yeah, we may not have time to actually survey the flags, but they will be out there and we'll walk around.
Okay, that's all right. As long as we have somebody who knows where we're going to not try to figure it out, do bushwhacking and so forth. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so we will accept the motion to continue this hearing for 175 North Street. Unless Bill has another question.
I'm good.
Okay, to the evening of, I'm starting to fill up, December 11th, at 7 p.m. So moved.
Seconded.
Second, thank you. All right, and any other discussion? No? Hearing none, seeing none. Pamela?
Aye.
Aye. Neil?
Aye.
So, aye, and I heard that, aye. Don?
Aye.
Steve? Aye. James?
Aye.
Ariana?
Aye.
All right, unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Thank you. See you Saturday.
Sorry, thank you.
I can tell you.
Oh, as long as you have somewhere.
I do.
Hopefully right down. That's something. Yeah, last meeting. Yes. There you go. So Scott, Bill, and good. We want this to be so.
Sounds like all three of them are gonna be there.
It's not, it's fine. I mean, the applicant have many people, we don't need to have BSC there. They've haven't done a review. If there was some point of concern about flagging or something, just FYI, we would ask BSC maybe to attend, to send a rep if they could. If they can't, that's fine. Yeah, I was gonna ask, does anybody on the commission have an auger for future reference, not that you need to bring it for the sidewalk?
I believe Neil does.
What's that?
I believe Neil does.
And I know Neil does, but yeah, and Hannah does too.
Did you have it in your pocket?
My car.
Do you really?
You actually have an auger?
Yeah.
This augurs well for her continuing on the.
Doesn't everybody?
What's that?
I even have one.
Neil, what'd you say?
He has one.
Yeah, well, yeah, Neil, we know you got one, but sometimes, it's not in the back of the small car that you drive that thing, I know. Okay, so you got, then we're on for the 16th, Saturday at 8:30 Irene Court. Neil, you heard all that clear enough?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving along, we have unanimous vote on that.
0 people?
Yeah, so we can see that, so. Okay,
Drum roll.
yeah, continuing hearing for those who can, no surprise, 0 Maple Street. Proposed 19,525 square foot industrial style building, parking areas, 3 proprietary devices, and 2 subsurface infiltration systems. Rich Gordon Maple Street Development LLC is the applicant. Representative Shane Oates from Independence Engineering has requested on behalf of the applicant to
Continue.
continue, as they are still in the midst of a significant number of planning board issues, proposals, changes. So since just for the record, and for the newer members, we do not approve a project for the Conservation Commission for hearing until it has been approved or about to be approved on the next night vote, and we get that word from planner. for a project because that we're both reviewing, because we want to make sure that there's a planning board changes to the plans, and the plans are the plans of record, which the developer, the contractor, and everybody else go by. We want that to be the same plan approved, one set. So we would just continue indefinitely until, as long as progress is being made. If for some reason it gets stonewalled, the project is on stop with planning board, a hard stop, then we could potentially have to do something else, but continuing it at the applicant's request to the evening of the, I don't know, did they suggest, did they have any sense? Did Rob giving you an indication that we should just bump it till January?
They specifically requested December, so
They, the applicant.
yes.
Okay, so at their request, we will continue to the evening of December 11th. I just wanted to throw that out there since December 11th.
It'll probably be a quick one.
Yeah, probably potentially.
Just saying.
He's jinxing it. Okay, to the evening, I will accept motion to continue this to the evening of December 11th at the applicant's request.
So,
Yeah, James, that was quick.
Second.
Oh, just give me a chance.
I don't know.
It's okay.
Gotta be-
That's it. All right. Okay, gotta be quick. These people love the first and second, so feel free to jump in there and say second or first. Okay, Eric.
You retract it.
Oh, seconded by, for the record, for the note taker, seconded here by Pamela, her first second. So wait till you get your first. Okay, first second. Okay, that is a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion on this? Please say no. Thank you. All in favor, Ariane,
Hi.
James, Steve, come on, Mike, aye. Neil,
Aye.
thank you. Okay, Neil, 11.
Is that the triangular property that's like near 95?
It's close to the 95 bridge going north as you can get.
Yeah.
It's on the left side, opposite D&D mulch, the doggy place.
Camp Bow
To Camp Owl. There we go.
Oh my God, I love that.
It is, yes, you can watch your doggy online when you're gone on vacation. Okay, so we will move down briskly to Candlelight Lane, which I know Dale McKinnon online has been waiting for patiently. Thank you, Dale. And we have Angela, welcome, BSC.
No.
Sorry,
Bafford.
there was another A starting with, that is, who is it? I'm thinking of BSC, that's such a name. Amanda, sorry, there was an A person, so with my brain in a fog, sorry.
No,
There we go. Two A's, with two hands in the room, it's just
Too much for you.
too much. Okay, sorry, let me finish reading this, continue hearing notice of 10 Candlelight Lane, parcel C, construction of an earthen berm within a 100-foot buffer zone, to BBW. Southern Realty LLC is the applicant and Dale McKinnon is the representative. And we have representatives both in the room from Stratford for Angela. And Johnson.
Conforming.
Sorry, thanks. For the record. And
I have a quick question.
yes,
They're not constructing anymore.
well, that's what's being discussed. There were two options that were reviewed, just to bring the commission up to speed, Hannah and Chase in particular. So this project has been before us for a while. The proposed solution to a drainage issue, which is affecting some abutters by flooding their backyards periodically, as a lot of what you see in the map of open space C on the left flows downhill, a very steep downhill at one point into a flatter area that is where the words open space C are. There's trees in that area. And they're proposing at the back side of that, of the right-hand side of that, to put a split rail fence, as it says, with conservation factors, but also along that area where it's a split rail fence to basically create a berm as one suggested solution for, is the red delineated line the,
So, yeah, so Dale, I circulated the plan that, was you sent today. If you want to explain to the commission what they're looking at, what the red line represents, the storm model.
Yes, the red line represents an elevation of 423. And we did some, and we did, yes, I'm sorry, thank you.
423 would be a really steep elevation.
We, basically, we ran the calculations for the flooding that would occur in parcel C. And what we found is this swale that goes through that particular lot that would eventually overflow into the street. There's a high point in that swale at that elevation of 223.8. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Is it 223.8? Did I say that? You said it was not 423. Is it
It's 242.
243 and then 242.
243? Thank you. So it's 242.8 is the high point within that swale, and that's where I more or less said that's the overflow, and we find that in the 100-year flood it would overflow to the street. The calculations were originally done considering all the volume of water from parcel C going to basin B, so there's no additional flow going to basin B at this time.
Dale, quick question for you. Between number 22 and 24, the red line easement says easement retention area. Is that a established legal easement between the property all the way out to the street? From the
I think it says bioretention
or
easement area.
bioretention area, but it says easement. So my eyes focus on the word easement more than bioretention. Is that an easement that goes out to the street that is not, has been approved and is a valid easement that could be utilized for other things other than bioretention, or is it specifically only for bioretention?
It was intended to be for the bioretention area, and it was not for this purpose.
What's in the easement language though?
Well, the easement language is for maintenance of the bioretention area and access to it.
So describe how this bioretention area would be utilized. Is this only during the 100-year flood that red area this bioretention area is within, it seems to be, would be flooded and need to be maintained and allowed to not, fill in with vegetation that wouldn't allow drainage or flow, or how is this easement?
No, did you hand them the elevations for all of the storm events?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. So we ran the events for the 2, the 5, 2, the 10, 25, and 100-year. And there are other events within the all of those storm events that basically are below that elevation of 243. But there will be flooding in just about all of those occasions for storm events greater than the 5-year storm. There would be some water within that swale area.
Okay.
And that swale, I'll just note on lot 53 was not originally designed for the lot. It was done in response to after the unit owner moved in and we were receiving complaints of, saturation. That swale was designed and installed after the fact. So it was in response to these similar issues that, Mr. Wilson was complaining about as well.
Okay. So again, for Hannah and for Pamela in particular, the most affected properties are number 26 and 24, although as we just heard named, that the one number 22 has also been impacted, lot 53. They're basically all get flooded when they get a lot of rain now and have been for a while. And the rain gardens, which are shown along the back sides of their properties, have either, I think, in our site review or sidewalk, pretty much filled in or not been maintained or not functioning. They certainly aren't stopping the water from coming down the hill to the left of the side of the property and into this flattened area and then basically going out into the yards, as well as whatever comes down vertically into those areas. So solutions being sought to relieve the problems that these applicants are these abutters are having to this. A berm was suggested as a solution by the applicant and the representatives as a possible an earthen berm, basically just powder along the backside, and then a fence area, which would be to keep people from throwing debris and yard waste and so forth over, as we often placard those with conservation stickers say, do not, what did they say exactly?
Sorry.
You hand out the stickers all the time for the.
Oh, it says, I think, do not disturb owned by Bellingham and conservation.
Yeah, so to give property owners who may move in afterwards, certainly the current ones that we put it up while they're there, No, it's, but no, not to dump yard waste and so forth over the fence that, there's a little woods back there, just throw stuff, because we find that all the time. It's our property and or impacts things negatively, so, anyway, the
Mr.
earth.
Chair.
Yes, Steve, go ahead.
Can we revisit some old business on this? When we broke from our last meeting, there was going to be conversations between Mr. Wilson and Trafford about easement. And I kind of highlighted it a little bit. What is the status of that?
Not fruitful. I drafted an easement. I sent him the easement and an easement plan that Gary and Helen had put together. And he said that he's not going to grant the easement.
Was there an explanation why?
Basically, I guess he doesn't trust the construction practices of Stafford based on some, the history of flooding issues on his property. And I don't know if it referenced some conditions within his house, some warranty issues. So.
Okay, let me stop you for a second, because I think both Hannah and Pamela might want to get a little more up to speed. So Fafford is the developer of the project, all these houses around here. They are looking as part of the final step of their development project to get town approval and acceptance of the roads on that property. So the town takes over maintaining them, and Fafford, the developer and or homeowners association, who's currently on the hook to maintain the roads and so forth. You guys are?
Stafford, yep.
Yeah, okay. So they would like at the next town meeting, which is coming up in November 20th, to be potentially on the agenda to be approved by the town. DPW takes, I think, the initiative on accepting the roads, not the Conservation Commission, but one of the things DPW has been asking for some time is, how are you all about everything on site? This is one of the, if not the last issue, potentially. The green, I think it is green, or it's dark black, line between house 26 and 24 is another option that we have been pursuing recently, as opposed to a berm, earthen berm, which has some downsides to it and also would need to be maintained. Sorry. Okay, on the Conservation Commission property by the Conservation Commission, DPW town, we have to go in, we have to keep things clear, we have to maintain the berm. It's basically a big pile of dirt packed down with some plantings, some grass and so forth on it. Hopefully it would hold together, but it's not as good a solution as what everyone, including the engineering people have looked at this for Fafford, have agreed, which is that line to go between house 26 and 24 there. Mr. Wilson, who we refer to, is technically on his property, and put a drainage line, which would end in the bottom of the area where the berm would be the flat area best spot. Maybe a little grading would be done lightly, and that would potentially draw off enough of the water in the pipe into the storm drain system of the road. That's the best solution, but we'd have to get permission from the property owner to put the line in. Once it was done at the town's cost, again, not the applicants or at the, not the homeowners, we could move forward. And I think the Conservation Commission felt that would be a good solution. We did a sidewalk out there. There are some downsides, other downsides to berm. Environmentally, it would kill a bunch of the trees that are right on the backside of it potentially, which are not meant to be in water. If we got a lot of water, who knows when that's gonna happen. So we've been pursuing that, but legally, we would have to get that permission. We thought it was, we hoped, I think.
Mr. Wilson said he would.
Yeah. Well, he, at one point he said, well, and he apparently did this. Hurry up.
Would it make sense to maybe have Fafford find a peer review that could be used to hire a third-party person to observe this work, who would be interviewed by the resident and I guess sort of establish trust with him if he was open to it?
Well, I think the commission first needs to decide one thing, and that is, do they want to proceed with the earth and berm alternative or rule it out completely and say that the drainage is the only option they want to do, or do they want to try to keep both pans of fire, keeping in mind that right now, as Angela, I'm sure is waiting to hear, their timetable is about to expire in order to get on the, if it has.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen this
Okay.
year,
Okay.
so.
All right, so that has changed since the last time we did a sidewalk, which was at the request, Dale had mentioned it, I think you remember that on the sidewalk, Dale.
Yeah.
Hoping to get on the town agenda for the 20th and get the town road approval. We wouldn't approve it until we felt comfortable we had a good solution here to DPW. DPW won't accept the roads until they get it, just for, again, your reference to how that would proceed. So if we have more time to work on this, then that changes my next comment, which would be, still, how does the commission want to respond to
we
two
have
options of CDP?
Analysis of berm versus the,
A drainage line versus the berm are the two options, and nobody
But
suggested.
do we
Dale,
have
you haven't
a-
come up with any other creative third option, have you?
Third option would be to leave it alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I am prepared at this point in time, my personal preference, but I want to see what the commission members say, especially those that have been on site. I don't see a strong advantage to, while we do try to not have property owners negatively affected. The environmental protection is more important in the scope of what the Conservation Commission, in my opinion, is charged to do. Protect the environment and the resource areas. Leaving it alone leaves the status quo with the trees and other vegetation in that area, open space C, which is town conservation, was deeded by that, deeded already over to us or?
No.
No.
No, that would happen probably simultaneously with street acceptance.
Sure, so we would get that area as part of conservation, be required to monitor and maintain it as best we could, but putting a berm in that may fail down the road and may have some negative impacts initially and would require some tree clearing and so forth, impacting the area, changing it what it is versus leaving it alone and having the neighbors just realize, especially the two most affected ones, who could provide, or one or the other could potentially. Dale, could this have been moved over the line slightly engineering wise towards the house number 24, away from Mr. Wilson's house and still successfully tie into the line, or would not meet the grade that needed or whatever pitch?
I haven't really looked at that. I think the issue is the location of the existing drainage system and connecting to it out there. That's why those two properties were obvious locations for performing the potential pipe locations.
Okay, I think I'm open to suggestions
Hey,
and
Mike?
other ideas. Yes, Neil.
A lot of the water that's coming in is actually road runoff or runoff from above, correct?
The other side.
Yeah, the left side of the plan that isn't shown, yeah, where it starts to come downhill into the wetlands marked area and then open space C, yeah, it comes to the left of that, down that's, I think there was.
Well, have we looked,
up there, right?
have we looked at fixing that?
I don't think it's road runoff, that's.
Well, there was
going-
a pipe that we saw that came
Yes,
out. Do
that's
we know
from a
what-
foundation drain.
Okay, so we have at least one foundation drain, Neil, on the uphill side that we have identified as some property owner that was.
I mean, this wasn't water that was originally. The original engineering didn't anticipate this much water coming into that area. We haven't had that much more water.
Historically in the last year or so. Yeah,
There's obviously a problem with the drainage design of the roadways that's causing the water to go there.
Okay, let me.
So why don't they fix the road? Why don't they fix the road
Dale-
drainage before the town accepts it?
Dale, is there road drainage entering parcel C?
No. Every,
The
that,
commission never
as
would
we
allow
said,
that.
that one,
So this
All the-
is all sheet flow off of the lots surrounding,
that's correct.
100%.
Except for that 8-inch pipe that's coming from a foundation drain on the other side of the road, on the other side of Northern Lights.
So all
Oh,
the
it's
original
on the
drainage calculations and peer review about
Remember we
the
tracked down-
contributory
Yeah.
area to this parcel was wrong.
No, the watershed for that area I've calculated now, they didn't bother to separate that out. All they had was all this runoff going to Basin B. They didn't specifically consider a flooding in parcel C.
Dale, quick question. The house drains on the uphill side of parcel C, open space C, however many there are, 3 or 4 at least, if not 5. Not counting that foundation drain, which runs underneath the property owner on that side, if I'm hearing you right, across the street and up into somebody else's foundation. But excluding that, how many of the house drains, roof drains and so forth are coming out on that uphill side across the yards and flowing in as well? I mean, if basically I'm assuming downspout gutters and so forth, they're just surface, they're not going into infiltration?
Well, there is downspouts and gutters that go into infiltration, but the runoff that we're considering is that not captured by the gutter and then the lawn areas that are receiving. We're not aware of any impervious areas other than the houses themselves that would be draining back there. There's no driveways that connect to this area that we're aware of.
Right, I just want to make sure that the rooftop drains on the uphill side, we're not just adding to the sheet flow by surface running there and going into infiltrations on the uphill side houses, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, that helps. So the houses themselves aren't adding to it, but sheet flow from the yard.
Three things. Clearly, when we walked it, you could just stand there and look at the neighboring properties and their slope. Sheet flow is a contributor.
Sure.
Whether or not there's zero runoff from the road above, I wouldn't be able to determine. But we did discover what would appear to be a random spring. There was some very aggressive flow in the middle of parcel C.
Or signs of it. even though-
Or signs of
Right, the
something
erosion.
flowing, really scrubbing the ground. So is there an underground spring that appears during this? I don't know. I want to go back to Dale's comment of leave it alone. 2-3 months ago, I might have concluded that was flip or dismissive, but we've only had one neighbor show up at these meetings. They've had their doors knocked on. They've dismissed it. And my position would be a berm is the last of the three options. Drainage would be first, berm last, leave it alone would be second. And let the water in parcel C flow into their yard and dry up quicker.
And
If our concern is creating a bigger pool in C that would stay deeper, wetter, longer, killing the trees faster.
And
So-
changing the habitat.
Changing the habitat, the berm would, which is why we went to get it out of there. But if the neighbors aren't cooperating, Mr. Wilson has since changed his mind, it appears. And we don't have use access of this easement. Then
Let me
my
ask,
vote would be leave it.
Let me get additional input from the commissioners.
going on to that easement, I want to ask this a little more pointed, and please, Angela, tell me to pound sand if this makes no sense to you.
Well, don't say that in the public meeting.
The easement is from the road to parcel C, correct?
I,
It's access to parcel C, the bioretention area?
where's,
Yeah,
down
the
here.
long
lot
wall.
50.
Above left,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so that there's like one easement that will lead out to the back of the lot so that landscapers or inspectors can get back there.
That's
and-
between 28 and 26?
And then it
Yeah.
comes to all the way to the street?
Yeah.
And that's to access and maintain the bioretention area?
Yeah.
So would us, or would allowing drainage of the bioretention area to maintain it as existing not count under that easement?
Well,
It's
wait a
kind
minute,
of a
wait a minute,
stretch, but-
Donald's asking a
Yeah, can
question.
we get?
Let's
can we get
identify for
clarification?
sure, because he's
Yeah.
thinking it's a different area, I think,
Yeah.
north.
Are you saying it's between lot 54 and 53? Or,
Yes.
yeah,
24 and 22.
well, those are the house numbers, right. That, not,
This
right,
one here,
right,
not
that one, right there. I just want to clarify where it's
It's not a
highlighted.
5-foot wide landscape easement, that's along the road, to
Yeah,
maintain the road.
but this
there's-
says
Or
easement.
that doesn't cut back.
That, the landscaping,
Wide easement for
This right
bioretention
here.
area
Yeah.
for parcel C.
Right,
So
but then,
this is flooding out and killing those trees.
but
right
then it's
now.
going out up the red area that's going
It
towards the
goes
street.
to the street.
Right. And that,
So I was
that's the
kind of
easement you're talking about.
Right,
Right,
So
we,
right.
we
That's why I
have-
wanted to make
if
sure.
there's
we're on the same
existing
page.
rights to access and maintain,
Right,
would adding this drainage in that easement not be maintenance?
therefore valid to put it in. The question I had, which is to Dale, and he hasn't done the calculations, whether that would work from a drainage point of view. It doesn't have the right pitch, or, Dale, were you saying there was a connection problem at the street, you think, with going down the easement if we identified that was an acceptable thing legally to do? Or?
No,
you're not sure?
I'm saying that you're talking about the overflow there at 22? Is that what you're saying?
Between 22 and 24,
If we
right?
wanted to
Yeah,
run a
if-
drainage
when
line
that-
between-
When
yeah.
that water, if it overflows to the street, what I said is that water was, all of the water in parcel C was, considered in the original drainage calculations to flow to basin B. I just wanted to make sure you're aware that no flow out to the street from parcel C will cause a problem downstream from this site. It's, I don't know if that addresses your question or
I think
not.
we're-
No, I think you're talking about surface runoff. We're talking about if we put a drainage pipe in where at the bottom of the plan says parcel C, and then directly to the right of that is the easement that goes out to the street. If we use that, as James is saying,
Right.
claiming that it is part of improving the easement, the maintenance
Not
of
improvement, maintain.
maintaining the easement area for bioretention by putting in a drainage area, which will ease the retention need by drawing off a lot of water via the drain pipe. The question is, from an engineering point of view, what I have for you, would that work? Do you have the right pitch to go from that point in the line, which is one property lot over from the proposed line that you guys had?
Yeah. Yes, that's the original area that I had proposed to tie in the drainage pipe.
Okay.
Out to the street.
So
So
why wasn't it done?
what,
Yeah.
I would not advise my client to install a drain line in that easement. If that's not what the purpose of the easement is for, to actually install infrastructure in it, it's not accounted for in the easement language. I would not advise Fabric to install a drain line there.
Who is gonna own who's gonna hold the easement once it's transferred to the town? The town?
Yeah, the town. But the property owner still owns the land underlying the easement.
yeah, but just again, for both Pamela and Hannah, Chase, information, property owner in house 24, Surin Kumar and
Yeah.
it's parts block, has been approached by Mr. Wilson as a neighbor to see about this going between the original line going to their house. He has apparently been unresponsive. Hannah, I think, went to you knock on that door? Or somebody involved?
No, phone calls and emails.
Have been flat out not responded to. They don't seem interested in participating in this process at all, from both Tom Wilson's point of view as well as hers, which is unfortunate, because if we went between those two properties, obviously that would be somebody that we love to reach out to. I don't think we can be safely on either property with the house 22, for example. Is there any chance that we approach or ask Baffert to approach the other applicants at 28 and 28 rather, and see if they'd be willing to do something on their property? I don't know if they're being as negatively affected. Mr. Wilson didn't reply, and the lay of the land was a little different. I think it was actually a fence I couldn't see beyond.
28 is definitely too high in the above.
All right, but it won't work engineering wise. There's no sense obviously even considering.
Well, it
Right.
works engineering wise.
No, up here.
No, up there, right, but down here it works engineering wise, but
Right.
there's.
Mr. Chair,
an
can I
advice-
ask Dale a question?
Sure.
Dale, the swale that was added at the narrow end of lot 53, between 53 and 54, went in after the fact, correct?
I'm not aware of that.
Yes,
Yeah,
after the
so-
homeowner moved into the house.
So how did you get the earth there? Up the easement? From the street?
Or did the homeowner put the berm?
We had permission from the homeowner. That was in response to their complaint, and the homeowner had given us permission. I think maybe even we had a license agreement in place for Fafford to go onto the property.
Is that because you had said that they were having issues with something?
It was just oversaturated, kind of flooding the same way that.
So their solution was to let you go in as the developer, put in a berm on their property. Now, the conservation.
A swale down
A
the
swale,
property.
sorry, the swale too.
So why would you not recommend a drainage?
I don't know why that wasn't recommended at the time.
You what?
I don't know why
No,
that.
a few moments ago, you said you would not recommend your client put drainage in that easement.
Right, because we don't have a drainage easement. We have an easement for access to the bioretention area. That's what that easement is.
Well, I'm,
Do we
in
have
an
a-
effort to find an engineering solution that would work and
I
sharing this.
actually don't have a separate easement document for that. It's just their deeds reference the plan, and that's why the breadth of the easement is not as detailed as I would like it to be to put in actual drainage infrastructure.
Okay, well, I'm throwing out ideas to see if they will land with any kind of hope of progressing beyond another hearing
Because if it stays, then that puts the acceptance of the road at jeopardy.
Yes, yes.
So keep that in mind.
But if
Wait a second, let me just have
Conservation
Pamela.
Commission were to be okay with the current condition and recommend acceptance, then
No, we wouldn't be okay with it, but at this moment, your collective group have been unsuccessful in getting the problem resolved, leaving us with no choice. But either accept the berm or accept the existing conditions.
despite our best efforts, it's not like we haven't been trying. This was designed and
You've had
permitted
since the
many
beginning of the
years
process.
ago. We've got a certificate of compliance for the development, signed off by this Conservation Commission and DEP. So this was thoroughly reviewed. We actually got a certificate of compliance from you all at, I think, the same meeting that Tom Wilson came to complain about the flooding.
If
And it
all
was
of that-
definitely after Tom Wilson notified the commission of the flooding, we've issued a certificate of compliance for the wetland replication in parcel C. If the three homeowners who are most affected by this flooding are not interested in solving the problem, despite us reaching out, Hannah reaching out, then, I mean, there doesn't really seem to be a problem that can be resolved right now.
Don't agree.
Okay, so let me ask Pam, go ahead.
Oh, I was just asking for clarification on which homeowners had approached and which had not.
Only this homeowner,
Only that
spoke to
one.
Tom Wilson, that number 26 or lot number 55.
Well, he's the only one that's responded.
Oh, it's fine,
He's the
yeah.
only one
We have approached the others, they've been notified that they have said, yes,
He's the
good.
only one who's approached about this particular
Problem.
part of that entire project, which has been subdivided into multiple NOIs. There have been other reports about other parts of this development.
Overall, which have been, for the most part, I think, addressed in the dealt with, yes.
Yes, and anywhere that you see a rain garden, there was an NOI for that lot as well, and we have certificates of compliance for everything. It was they were constructed as designed.
Okay, Neil, anything else on?
The problem with hanging the hat on the certificates of compliance, there's a problem. And Concom did not create it. So problem needs to be resolved.
So we can't trust the certificates of compliance that we get from the Conservation Commission and have to continue to remedy conditions that
Well, I'm not sure, I'm not sure since then.
non-complying with the stormwater standards. So
Then make the issue go away.
there's no issue to go away. We're in compliance with the stormwater standards. All of this flooding infiltrates within a day. It's not even, you see the 100-year storm, it barely leaves the rain garden onto these homeowners' properties. This is not a condition that needs to be remedied out of good faith to the homeowners that we sold properties to. I personally went above and beyond to try to secure an easement to remedy this situation where my client does not feel that it is obligated to remedy. And I had the door slammed in my face too. So if the homeowners that this is affecting they don't have a problem with it, then why, like, our street acceptance has already been derailed for this fall. So the developer is gonna have to pay tens of thousands of dollars to plow and maintain this road because we made an effort at this commission's request to remedy a situation that has already been remedied through this drainage swale on lot 53 and is not non-complying with the Massachusetts stormwater standard.
Felt the
Or your
remedy of
wetlands
the problem, just to be clear, on lot 53 was to help the property owner at house number 22 on lot 53, not to help all of the properties across the bottom. It just helped that one person.
But the drainage channels, like, Dale, am I right that the drainage, any increased flow would most likely channel through that swale as well? Because that's the low, lot 53 is the very low point of that.
That is correct.
And have we had any substantial rain since that swale was put in? And when was the swale put in?
Oh, yeah, the swale was put in, the homeowner closed in 2021, something like that. So I think that swale was done, I would say at the latest 2022.
But if you're saying it would siphon off overflow that would be going to the backs of house 26 and 24, for example, and maybe a little bit of 28, I don't know about that one. But draw it off in a sort of a siphoning effect. It's not working according to at least the owner of house 26, Mr. Wilson. I don't know about the other people at 24, whether their backyards are as flooded or less, because it's closer to the easement and maybe drawing off more. But if anecdotally, what we're hearing, we did not witness it because it was dry, I would say that while the commission offered or issued a certificate of compliance for the properties around there, the rain gardens and so forth, they're not invalid because we have an issue with a problem. I think some of the conditions have changed over the last couple of years in that, well, I don't know how strongly that foundation pipe flows when it's actually being needed and flowing. It's on the uphill side, but certainly the steepness of the backyards of the however many, 4 or 5 houses along the backside of the upper part of open space C, all sheet flowing down there with, by the way, potentially nutrient loading as an issue as they fertilize the lawns, so they were nice looking lawns, we walked up them. Except for the positive doggy do. Anyway, that I think is something that has potentially affected and changed both the scouring that we saw downhill that indicated a spring or some sort of strong runoff where stones were dislodged in some cases, and certainly a gouging of scouring effect was happening. We walked in there, it was pretty dry at the time, so we're just looking at that. I think some of that was contributing to the need to address, or the feel of the need to address this from the Conservation Commission when that was approached by Mr. Wilson as a flooding issue, and whether it was more widespread, as it seemed to be multiple applicants, since which, as we have been open to having them come to us and approach them, they're not, other than Mr. Wilson, willing to do so, or needing to do so, or feeling they want to do so. So I am up to the commission's suggestions for this. I think we've heard, I'm gonna give a couple people, if I got not have a chance to participate yet. Pam, do you have any observation or question first?
I mean, I would just feel that if the homeowner, Mr. Wilson, is interested in having this remedied, I would feel bad saying, well, sorry, just because your neighbors aren't interested in participating. Like, if it's a problem for him, then I would want us to think about that and any potential solution so that he can enjoy his property.
Okay. Having heard, as you have, that he has come in, he has stated that he was going to go along with an engineering pipe drainage option. That seemed to be the last hearing that he attended, and the indication was that we were just going to get that agreement in place with Fafford and the property owner. It would go across his property, it would be done at no cost to him and benefit him. He understood, he was at the site walk as a property owner observer when we did it. Mr. Wilson was there along with Dale when we did our last site walk meal. Just so that, he basically has said now that he doesn't want to do that through disagreements and long, bigger issues with Fafford as a developer and so forth. Even though he clearly seemed to understand that this would be the best solution, the drainage line for him as well as the other butters, but him in particular, and there would be no negative impact to his property. It would look like grass again, it would be all done. The pipe would be underground, he doesn't have to maintain anything and no cost to him. Seemed like a really good solution. The best solution from the Concom's point of view is a drainage line, not a berm. And as I think James said, or Steve said, whoever, that's the option of is available to us to just leave it as is. If we do that and want to leave that, then as a long-term solution, then we need to state it, I think clearly, is that if we want to continue to pursue anything else, engineering or the berm or some other solutions, then the commission needs to sort of identify what those are so that both the applicant and abutters and we know what plan is going forward. I don't want to keep
Could we
this.
revisit how this came to our attention? Who filed this with us? Mr. Wilson or
The complaint or the NOI?
how did it come on?
The NOI is,
Last January, he was calling our office and sending.
He is Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Wilson.
He
And
brought it to the board.
he brought it.
and when were the COCs? When the rain gardens done?
About the same.
Yeah, it was around the same, it was over the winter, January, February.
I don't remember two meetings that are merged in my mind, but okay.
So are other neighbors being flooded? I understood when the start.
Anecdotally, we are
across
hearing
the
that.
whole
We
group.
have not heard that from any, to my knowledge.
Lot 54 in the pictures, I would say definitely, yeah, lot 54 as well. I don't remember seeing any pictures of lot 56.
But they haven't complained as
Nope.
far as we
Not word one.
understand, right? So they had water drained away or it.
They didn't care or.
Or, yeah,
Yeah,
they
whatever, it
absolutely
didn't
have
affect
been.
Worried about their property values.
Right.
Just one more question so I can fully
Sure.
understand the situation. Was it the last meeting that he was fully willing, Mr. Wilson was fully willing to go
Was our last
forward?
time, yeah,
Yes.
the last one, he was here. It was-
Yeah, I wouldn't say he was fully willing.
He said the word,
Very,
he said the words that he
Did-
was going to
Okay.
grant the easement.
There seemed to be a strong
Which he
indication
seemed to
from the
find
commission
beyond
members.
clear on.
That he was
that
likely
heard it,
to.
That he was going to do whatever it took to get this done. He supported the commission and our efforts. He appreciated us coming out. He has some issues with the developer. We tried to push that back to, let's, move forward with this, get this solved. You can deal with those other issues. We, the commission, can't address almost any of those other issues he has. They're either beyond our scope or not something we would get into anyway, but since then, he has, as they were attempting to work out an agreement for that, stated that he is not interested in pursuing that, and he had a discussion with Hannah, and that didn't go anywhere. And it appears that unless another commission member wants to tackle Mr. Wilson and see if they can get him to go forward with some sort of non-restrictive installation of what is very straightforward. And then, Dale, just a quick question, how long would it take to install that line from start to finish?
It'd probably take them a week, and then you've got the restoration of the loom and the grass growth, that sort of thing.
So a week.
It would
okay.
take
Should
a
be
while,
days.
much longer.
It's a PVC pipe. They can get it done in a day with a
Could you do it in a week? I mean, a day?
Well, you could probably do it in 2 days, that sort of thing.
Ditch witch, okay, all right.
But there's also connecting into the street drainage as well, so.
Little dig and patch in the road, yeah. Yeah, okay, all right.
Is that
Can I clear enough for you, Pam?
Yeah, no, that
Okay.
is clear. I would just be curious if anyone else was interested in just giving the property owner one last chance to see if he'd be willing to do this. If I contacted him, I'm someone he's never met before, I'm completely new, maybe he would be entirely neutral towards me, maybe not.
I would suggest you have a brief conversation with Hannah.
If that doesn't seem viable, then I do think
I-
the plan of just leaving it is the best plan.
I have two questions.
Okay.
And I have one after.
Coming from the COC on record. Have we gotten plans of the plantings that were done in the bioretention areas? Because our continuing ongoing conditions order of certificate of compliance. There has to be no less than 17 individual plants in each bioretention.
You're talking about rain gardens.
Yes,
Rain
and we also are required to get O&M submittals every 6
Right.
months. Did we get those?
Every 6 months during the 3-year period. Or just forever? Not forever.
The rain garden inspections, I think in the O and M plan are perpetual. So Goddard Consulting is actually, they did their inspection and I should be getting the report on the rain gardens. Or you should be getting the report on the rain gardens sometime. They usually do it November and May.
Has he been,
Yeah.
have you been getting them?
Because we issued this April of last year.
Ye-
Or March of last year.
Oh, for the parcel C, that was a 3-year monitoring just for
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
wetland replication. There is a separate, the O and M plan governs like the
Rain
rain
gardens.
gardens.
Have we gotten?
And those
any
are
submittals?
required to be inspected.
Have
I
those been
think I'm
sent out?
confused because there's so many. Which one? The rain gardens are not part of the parcel C.
This is the COC for 26 Candlelight Lane, lot 55.
Of Mr. Wilson.
So that's not the parcel C COC. It had a completely separate.
No, I understand.
He-
Oh, okay.
He's interested in the rain gardens.
I
Fire
just
retention
personally,
areas that-
no, I have not gotten it in 2020. I've not gotten any since I received or I gave the COC. And they could have.
And there
created
was,
them,
I
but
know that Mark Arnold at Goddard did a rain garden inspection back in May, because I know that we sent landscapers out to do some replanting and, I know that there was some homeowners had, planted their own things in the rain gardens and we had to, tell them.
Yeah, I mean, I won't say that it didn't happen. May was when I was fresh out too, so there's a chance that it got missed, but I don't.
I know I have a copy of that, I'll forward it.
It says until such a time that a homeowners association is established.
I knew it was around that.
Professional engineer or
May.
AWS.
I'm sure if you help me,
Those
May,
things
you
are
could
very
get
Experience
it.
in drainage, stormwater management to perform inspections, reporting and corrective recommendations. An ongoing condition will be that inspection reports and recommendations shall be submitted to the commission at 6-month intervals.
Yes, those inspections are done and they're submitted to the commission, but were you on maternity leave or something?
No, I was, but what he had been doing.
I'll see if I can find Mark's.
Okay, so if we haven't gotten them, we should get them and we will get them because apparently they've been done. If we have gotten them, we'll issue them out to the commission members just for their information so they know that they've been done. So it looks like we're due at least one since they were
Well,
approved.
I'd be surprised if
Not two.
this is not common to those other lots adjacent to lot 55. Assuming we have the same ongoing conditions for those 3 or 4 lots that were.
All the rain gardens around the perimeter, yes, I'm pretty sure.
All the rain gardens, even in phase 2, they're inspected twice a year.
Can I ask Dale a question on that?
I'm gonna make sure James got your 2, man. You said you had 2.
I think that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steve,
Dale, this is gonna be questions about elevations. As I'm looking at the map here, starting on the north at lot 56 down south to 55, 54, 53. It looks like the max elevation at the rain gardens is 243 across the board.
Yeah, that's
Right behind about 54.
So
correct.
whatever water situation is happening at 55, it's happening at 56, 54, and 53.
Well, we're considering, I did not do individual lot stormwaters for the rain gardens. What I did is the flooding action of parcel C, and where that would flow out to the street, and the elevations for flooding in the 4-year storm. So I didn't do the individual lot for those houses to flow into the rain garden.
They all appear to be at 244 up near the structure.
Yes, they are about
So-
at 243.
I'm back to,
How would it flow?
huh?
How would it flow towards the
Well,
easement?
I'm back, I'm trying to address the interest of the neighbors. Yeah, was it a problem that only Mr. Wilson had or not?
No.
And who said no?
Me.
No. And
They've had flooding
if there's
issues
a
for
collective
years.
lack of interest, I think to pick up Pamela, I would give Mr. Wilson one last opportunity to respond. Postpone this, continue it to the next meeting. Give Mr. Wilson one last chance to respond and reactivate this, and if not, we'll leave it as it is.
Okay, let me make sure everybody else has a chance to respond tonight. Don?
So exactly where you are.
Okay. And any other comments? Okay, James, Ariane, anything else?
I don't agree,
Okay.
because
We're not officially voting yet, but I just
Right.
want to make sure you have input questions for anybody before we carry on.
I'll say this project has been going on since at least 2006, before I've been on the commission. I was in high school. But they got a superseding order from Mass CP, from my understanding, and subdivided the project into multiple smaller projects, which made it difficult to view the project as a whole while they were approving it. And then they had some issues with flooding along one of the basins on the side of Silver Lake Ave or something. They had to adjust that one, had to adjust another basin, had to do all this work to adjust flooding, and this is just another part of that, in my opinion. And just because people haven't complained yet, doesn't mean they won't.
So there's a bigger history of flooding than just Mr. Wilson's complaints.
Other parts, this is a large project of which there have, to my knowledge, been some other issues, one detention basin in particular, where a sidewalk was flooding, water was coming out of it, nobody knew, including the applicants, rep, that was there, where this water was coming from. The commission members like, there's a lot of water going into this basin, and it had blown out the backside of the detention basin, or something had in the recent past, which was also unknown to the applicant. So that was just one small example, and that was a different part of the site completely, but same project overall backward in that area of town. So anyway, yes, there have been other drainage issues and other
The
things. to do.
original work proposed on this parcel C was to connect two smaller wetlands together, which have now overtaken the entire parcel and are filling it beyond capacity. So.
Well, water's flowing through it at capacity, filling to capacity, I don't know, because we haven't seen
It's
it.
gonna be filled to capacity while it's locked in like that,
You mean as a berm, with a berm?
with a berm or just surrounded by these houses. Where else is the water gonna go but up?
Have we been helpful, Dale, do you know in our open space C, if you were drawing a line that parallels the proposed fence and so forth, inset, say 10, 15 feet, do you know how flat is there? It seemed fairly flat when we were standing there in that area behind the rain gardens, but is it dipped down back towards parcel C more, or is it actually a straight downhill, even though it's fairly slight in that area, but a 244 or 245, for example, to the left of the fence line within the open space C? Do you recall from your, you have something online?
if you look at the plan that we gave you, you can see the red line is kind of a rectangle. We don't show the whole area of it, but in other words, that does, it is a much flatter area in that the rectangle behind those four houses, let's say.
Right, it appeared that way, as I said, anecdotally, I'm just, not anecdotally, visually when we were there, but I was just trying to see if you had something maybe at your house there, wherever you're at, office, on the plans that would indicate with a line that you have access to that we don't see on this plan, what the elevation is actually within parcel C, rather than.
Well, parcel
243.
Parcel C goes quite a bit higher. It goes up into the.
Right, I'm just interested in the last 20 or so feet before you get to the rain gardens. You have any
Right,
idea what that elevation is?
It's basically between 421. Excuse me,
243?
I'm sorry.
200 something.
241 and 243 is basically the elevations. In other words, behind the rain gardens is where this is, and then you have the other 243 for the other side for the rain gardens.
Okay, so if it's not flat, it's slightly depressed maybe back towards open space C, which is my point too, because if we leave it as is, those areas will fill as, until it gets up to level, and then as James Asperger's is going, it's gonna go out, or Don's, whoever, out the easement potentially, if between lot 53 and 54, if it's designed right and graded right. Is that pitched properly and like a swale effect already to draw water off there?
Well, the swale was designed to go to the rear of the house. The elevation that overflows, it would fill up that swale and then overflow. It's just grade wise, it would pond to that elevation, and then when it gets to that elevation, it will outflow towards the street.
And it's pitched all the way towards the street enough to continue that flow. It's not uphill.
Yes, I mean, that's just a normal lawn growth after that high point. It's not really a swale after that, but it would grade towards the road.
So it's not gonna act as a drainage flow area, even if it's a gentle valley between the two houses, let's say, for lack of a better word, not a swale per se that's designed, but.
No, it really shouldn't see any flows out to the street until you get a storm event, probably a 50-year storm event or higher.
Lately, we wish for a 50-year storm right now. Get a little rain. Okay. Any other commission questions?
I just want to clarify, the last report I got was done December 14th, 2023.
There was definitely one done this spring. Yeah, I'll
Just letting you know.
I'll get that to you.
Okay.
I've got notes here going back into 23 from Cliff about issues here. Does it make sense to reach out to him and get an opinion?
Oh, I've opened to any suggestions that the commission wants to make at this point in time.
Make sure we're not missing something.
Sure.
Newer members of the TLDR.
What was that, say again?
Too long to read TLDRs.
I knew she was saying some acronym, but I just couldn't hear all the letters and then try to put them into.
I actually had to look that up,
Okay.
I didn't know what that was like a year ago. I'm old.
So we have a variety of, move this along, we have a variety of things that have come out from commission members as suggestions, options, questions.
I've been convinced of Steve's opinion that we've made a good faith effort, they have made a good faith effort. The complainant is not willing to
do what seems to be
do what needs to be done. At this point, we've done our duty. There's no wetland violation going on. That's, at this point, I feel like we're going above and beyond our jurisdiction.
Unless the commission feels that the uphill side, whether it be a foundation drain line that's identified or sheet flow that should be addressed in some way, needs to be, because this would be the time to do that before final approvals or actions are taken, because we've observed things on the site. There are, including within, the steep slope, I think surprised me, among other members, maybe, where it drops off behind those people on the hillside of parcel C down so steeply, and then the scouring effects and so forth that we witnessed, as well as the flatness of the area at the bottom. If there's anything about that that is a concern or should be looked at as, does this need to be remedied? Can it be remedied? Is that contributing? And Dale's expressed the opinion that from the applicant that the sheet flow from uphill is certainly contributing to the flow and the amount of water that's going into the basin.
Our concern from a resource area perspective would be to in my opinion, not to have that berm built around parcel C, because it would just exacerbate the problem that's already happening.
Right.
That was kind of like a nuclear option if, like we said, this drainage infrastructure couldn't be installed, but we've also had historic no rain. So I
We were rejecting the berm at the sidewalk.
yeah, I don't think the flooding, although it sucks for those neighbors, is not our concern.
Officially rejecting it, it's like, well, because we don't have that.
Right, okay.
We were all forming various independent opinions of the sidewalk.
Here's a thought, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Street acceptance is off the table for fall one, so until spring. Do we want to postpone this until January or February site visit and see what the winter brings?
We could,
That doesn't change.
It doesn't-
Does, yeah, I mean, we would
Doesn't-
still need an easement to resolve this.
right, I think that Pamela has offered a suggestion and volunteered herself. And make sure the commission has all heard this, to reach out one last time. She is of the opinion that since should be reached out one more time and provided, I think, the information about where we came from the meeting tonight. Because it's open meeting, if he's watching online, we don't see that, but if he wants to watch cable 8, or maybe he is watching cable 8. And then he's hearing what we're talking about discussing, so he'll be aware of it, but I want to make sure that he knows that the commission's view, if it is a straw poll vote or a vote to move and wait to postpone this to take action, whatever, that what that is, but Pamela has offered to reach out to Mr. Wilson.
Have
And
you reached out
as,
to, any of the lots 49 through 52?
If Dale has not told me that those lots would be,
viable engineering.
viable for a drain line. Those are on the high side of the parcel.
Well, I know you said that lot
Because
56 definitely
across
was.
the street, there's a 20-foot utility easement, so. I was wondering if it could.
What I'm trying to say is 22, 24, and 26 are options, 24 less so than the other two, but actually 24 isn't really an option, but it's 22 and 26, and 22 has that existing swale. That's where I originally proposed to put in a drain pipe, and then we redid it again at 26 when Mr. Wilson said he would provide it. So
Okay.
we've designed it for both those locations.
Let me ask both Angela and Dale, your question. I don't, what is that box, rectangular box that projects from house 22 slightly up into the easement area? There's two of them, one on each car. House. Is that the infiltration?
Those, yeah, the recharge.
That could be moved at an angle away from that easement if necessary, correct? Slightly?
If it had to be, but it's underground, so I don't.
I understand that. The reason I'm asking is this. Has anybody approached Oakley's at house number 22, lot 53?
Yeah, that's the
About
one.
anything
where-
related
that's
to
one-
this?
That's the one where the house
I know about
number-
I know you did the easement there and you got the swale put in with them and you dealt with them with that. So are
Yeah.
they approachable, do you think? To a
They
proposal?
weren't. They were not. They threw a member of Fafford off. It told them get the hell off the property in worse language than that.
Because I was gonna suggest that getting it off of the non-responsive house lot 24 onto no cost to them, total replication of the existing lawn the way it is, the swale would work as it was proposed and done to provide the flow if they want to get away from the house, the oversaturation and so forth. If they would be willing to let the pipe be entirely on their property and that would work engineering wise, that as a solution to help the neighborhood, potentially their property a little bit too, maybe that would help the swale issue. If it would, we could push it with that, if they're approachable, because the other applicants we have issues with, Mr. Wilson, obviously, and the other non-responsive people lot before. So if the only other lot that's viable from an engineering point of view is 53, and we go off of the property in between the two, and we take 24 out of the picture, needing legally to contact them, if engineering wise it would work, my question was, since you've already been in touch, I didn't realize they were in that kind of touch, like throwing out touch.
No, I
Was an
want to be
explicit
clear.
No, we'll just
it was-
say it was an explicit no.
I want to
But
be
that was to
clear.
do
it's
something
lot-
else, wasn't it?
No, that
It's
was
lot-
to install the inlet and the drain. It was for the
Oh.
exact,
Oh, I didn't realize they've approached for this actual line that's part, just the easement and the swale, I thought, which we. you
No,
did.
this swale was done a couple of years ago. That was kind of handled by our warranty department almost. It was.
But for
like
the
a-
Oakleys,
it was like a lot grading sort of thing.
right, but it was for the current owners.
Yes.
So they had a good experience, something they wanted to have done, which helped them out by Thafford, through a different division. But since then, they approached from you about the
Yeah,
drainage line? I
this
wasn't aware of
year.
that.
This
Okay.
year, yeah.
Okay, and there was a flat no. So if there is a hard a no or as bad a response as lot 54 and 55, we know we have issues with. 56 isn't negatively affected apparently, or wouldn't work engineering wise anyway.
Mr. Chairman,
That's
Mr. Chairman,
absurd.
Dale, may I speak? It's lot 53, house 22, that told the Fafford person to get off the
Right, okay,
property,
okay.
not 54, not 24, not that one. I just
Right.
want to make that
Thank you.
clear.
That's there, yeah. The lot 54, house 24 are just non-responsive. We understand that. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, that's fine. So,
Mr. Chair,
okay, thanks for comment.
I don't recommend Pamela reach out. We've been more than cooperative. So there's not enough history. Should we're setting her up for a verbal badgering. I think letting Hannah, who I'm sure has reached out to him in very polite fashion, send her one more message saying, are you finished?
Certainly, but not others.
Okay.
And we table it until December 11th. If he doesn't respond, we release it to stay as it is.
Are we sure that the issue is people not wanting to respond, or that they maybe don't speak English as a first language?
I don't know. I haven't tried to reach out to him. I don't know anything about him.
I believe they speak English.
Okay.
Sound better via email or in person?
He has not been rude to me over the phone about me.
Okay.
I think email's not a viable option for me anymore.
He's been very pleasant to us. It's.
I would propose that if,
Yeah.
again, you're not aware of Mr. Wilson and don't know anything about him, may be very successful. I think I would have potentially recommended that Pam, if she's going to reach out to him in person, have another commission member attend, not necessarily Hannah, because there's some issues potentially there, but if another commission member wanted to attend, as James said, he has stated last meeting, he wanted to help the commission out. He really appreciated everything we were doing. And so if that as a option is something to consider, that's possible. I will also offer the email option where I would send the
I
email.
think the email
And
is like a, hey, this is your last.
well, not only that, but it puts in writing certain things which have been said verbally and are on the record and will be in the public record when the minutes are posted and accepted. And
And
so
I would imagine Mr. Wilson is listening to us right now.
potentially on cable 8. So
I
if
think
he is,
that
that's fine.
The commission had a lot of sympathies for him in the beginning, and he's lost the room at this point, in my opinion.
So I will. Okay, so, sorry, Dale. We knew you once.
It's bedtime.
It's bedtime, man.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, sure Angela will update tomorrow, after he's up, and, so we don't get full time.
Right, so in summary,
Yes, in summary, I think we have to decide whether we want to have one of two or both of two things happen. I think that's the commission's, desire. As part of that, we would propose to continue the hearing to a date, December, if that's what the commission's wishes, and see how things are as far as response and then act accordingly. But we would continue it with some actions taken place, which could include, if the commission wishes, Pam, who was offered to, and another commission member, at least at my suggestion, visiting Mr. Wilson at the time they reach out to him via email, find time, go visit him, see if they can get him to change his mind about the easement, not putting restrictions on it, having, I don't want to even offer a DEP supervision of the project because I'm involved with another town department into this that may not even be qualified to do that. But just a non-restrictive easement with the assurance of the commission that we would make sure that the property is as best we can. I can't even guarantee that because we don't have powers to go out and enforce it on the site. But that we would get assurances that we would feel comfortable that the property would be restored for the easement along, I'm sorry, for the area that would be needed to be affected by the drainage. That's one promising that gets put back the way it was, wouldn't be any cost to him, and it would improve his situation in particular almost immediately and hopefully long term. And that's where the commission is coming from, if he's not willing to accept that, or doesn't want to do that, or wants to put a lot of conditions on that, which won't allow it to happen, then the commission is at this point in time viewing the drainage option or no action. And let the existing landscaping stay as it is with potential to have a confirmation. I can't promise that because that's another open hearing that the commission will have to vote on. Acceptance of whatever remaining issues to satisfy the DPW that they could potentially release the roads for town acceptance at a future town meeting. That could be made clear. So that's part of it. And I would also say that I can state that in an email to Mr. Wilson as chair of the commission, who he is sympathetic to. We'll draft something up, and I in the next couple of days, we can send that out to him prior to your potentially reaching out to him, or simultaneous, or whatever. How does that sound to the commission?
I think we've said it in person to him over 3 meetings, a site visit. At this point, I don't think talking to him in person is gonna get anywhere. So a pointed email saying, here's where we are, you got one last shot. And then if we don't, I mean, we have to pick a timeline too, because if we just don't get a response, then we have to make a decision.
Well, this would be part of a proposed, I'm looking for gonna look for a motion here before I propose this, and this, discussion, for a continuation if the commission so chooses. So we would have a timeline that would be stated in the email. Again, for the record, whether he's listening and, online, cable, whatever, or not, looking at minutes, whatever, you'd be able to see that. How do you feel about having heard that? Do you feel that would address it enough to not feel you necessarily want or need to make the effort, which is appreciated, especially your first meeting?
As long as, because to me, it sounds like some of these homeowners are having some issues with the developer and not necessarily, and their involvement, not necessarily Conservation Commission. So I would just want to feel like we had tried to resolve their problems, which I know you have done multiple times long before I got here. My one suggestion was, I'm a new person that he hasn't met yet. Maybe he doesn't have any feelings, positive or negative towards me, and that can sometimes be helpful in reaching out to someone. So if you all thought that was a good idea, I'd be willing to do that. I also worked as a restaurant manager for many years. I have been badgered a lot. So, I mean, I would not go in person without someone with me, but over phone and emails, that would not faze me a little bit. I wouldn't listen to it for a long time, but I would certainly be willing to see if there was some solution that would work out for him.
Wholesale than Hannah Chase, who not offering you as an option to go, but I mean, I don't think that's necessary. She is the only person who's not met Mr. Wilson since she's a new member, just for the record, and everyone else has. So I'm open to a motion and or proposal for actions to continue this to the 11th at 7 o'clock, and not anything more stated other than they will be continued, because we can make a decision what we want to do at that point in time. I'm not gonna put us in a corner by making a decision for something. And also, in the meantime, have actions which would include an email from me stating, summarizing what we've discussed tonight and our proposed course of action on the 11th, should we have no response to an active renewal of an attempt to put in this drainage line option by Mr. Wilson, working with the Fabrics as much as he needs to allow it to happen, since he is going through his property. And if we get no response from him, that's a response. And if we get a response, we'll deal with the response, what it is, whether it's positive, negative, whatever.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
That's a motion with some action suggested.
So moved.
Second.
I'll deal with you. Second, or say we have Steve and second, Ariane, thank you. Any other discussion about that? I would just mention to Pam that I will ask commission what they want to or not want to do.
You
We've
did
never
never have her visit. I applied and agree with that, but he has no issue with the board. And when we got to the meeting idea in the last meeting, that had pretty much fallen apart before everyone left the room. So I'm not surprised to hear. Was there any conversation or did it stop at the onset?
No, I sent him the easement and he responded that he wanted money from Fafford, to be quite honest with you. So I don't know if that's the end game
Related to
of
the
all
easement?
of this. No, related to
Other issues.
a myriad of issues.
Um,
Okay, so.
I mean, I was
There's
part of that
another
conversation,
agenda.
and I
There's
also
some
responded.
You what?
I was part of that conversation, and I also responded being very clear about what would happen if he did and didn't. And then he had a response for that, and we have not heard.
We've given so many chances.
And very clear, explicit,
I
clear.
didn't know Hannah responded like that.
Yeah.
So that-
And with respect to my exchange with Mr. Wilson, I have been verbally abused by him for quite some time now.
Information,
And
response,
accused, my professional
Just for
ethics
your
have
information. It's
been
communication from an
attacked, and
outside.
as,
Share
uh,
members even though it's directed-
professional, I don't appreciate that.
Right.
So I haven't done anything uncouth here. I've been nothing but nice to Mr. Wilson, and he's called me names and made accusations about my professional character that I don't appreciate, so.
Well, I probably would acknowledge some damages if I was aware of them. I can't support this becoming a capital opportunity for him.
Okay, well,
There's court systems in place for that.
okay.
Can we move
well,
the issue, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman,
so
please?
Neil's got a valid point. We've got a motion on the floor. We're having discussion about the motion. Anything else particular about that?
So can we summarize what the motion is?
Motion is to
Explicit.
continue to the 11th at 7
Yep.
PM. And I will be sending a letter to Mr. Wilson delineating a brief summary of what we've done tonight with what our response will be, then a non-response may result in certain actions. I'm not gonna say what they are because that's up to the commission to vote. I'm not gonna speak for you to say what's gonna happen on the 11th. But that action would be then taken on the 11th in some manner, depending on your response or not response, and leave it at that with it. And then,
That's what I moved. Ariane, second.
right, any other discussion about that? That's the summary of it again? Okay. All in favor, Ariane,
I,
James,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
And Neil?
Aye.
Okay, yes, vote, thank you. Okay, so it's continue to the 11th.
So.
See you next month.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, but. it's not all. I want to do it. Okay, so we have one more on the agenda, new hearing RDA for 455 Hartford Avenue. Gentlemen who are very patient, thank you for your attendance. Come right up to the front, I assume you're here for that. We have a proposal of nuisance vegetation replacement of a 6-inch trap rock to deter rodent population. This is a new hearing for an RDA based on a informational hearing at the last meeting about the same issue.
Mr. Chair, before we get into that, give me a call later. I want to talk about stuff that we were just recently, but I don't want to.
Okay. All right,
Because I have some experience as a former representative of the town in the adversarial, and it didn't go well. Let's put it at that.
let me finish reading. Applicants Michael Fabriano, Scoops Realty LLC, and Bruce Wilson is the representative tonight for New England Environmental Design LLC.
No relation to the other Mr. Wilson.
Yes, okay, thank you for clarifying that. For those who are family members or not, okay. And you're gonna provide some more details, keeping in mind, if you would please, that we have 2 new members tonight, as you heard in the introduction. So
Start from the beginning.
start briefly from the beginning, I don't think it's super complicated project, so getting off speech should be quick and then.
Can I just have a quick question before we get?
Sure.
So something that Hannah and I were unsure of is the conflict of interest. I live very close to,
Are you in a butter? Did you receive a notice?
no.
You're
But
not?
how close? It has to be in a butter?
I think if you're in a butter,
Okay.
you're definitely, you need to state your conflict of interest, which could allow you, just for the record, if you participate, ask questions, so forth and everything but vote. But if you're not, then notified as a butter, you could be.
So here's what I did, because I'm also in other things is, I wasn't in the butter, but I was close and I knew of butters. So I just put it in writing and disclosed it,
Yeah, this close. That's
right? And then this way it's all clear.
Yeah, in the meantime, you still participate. If
Yep.
there became an issue, you have it on the record that you, while not in the butter, know butters or are very close to this project physically, but not within the notification range, just maybe they could, weren't given notification. And then you could give that to Hannah and. Yep. thank you.
when you file the disclosure form and give it to your appointing authority, it could be the select board.
in town clerk.
They all share it, but I think.
Well, passing it to Hannah, she'll make sure the right people, I think we would want a copy in our records too. We have the right to have that. Yeah.
I would do it yourself directly to connect you.
Okay, that's fine. Good suggestion. Okay. So doing that covers yourself even if you don't need to be covered legally and allows the process to move forward. Okay, gentlemen.
All right, so for the.
Wait a second, 1 second, Steve.
No, is this the same owner for two separate pieces of property that we're hearings on? For the same thing?
What do you mean?
No, we had an informal hearing about this
We,
project.
we had
before.
come in, I think it was.
Informational only last.
Last,
I thought it was for a piece of an ice cream shop on South Bellingham.
no, different, different flag.
Okay.
Wasn't there a different Scoops down that end? Was it called Scoops?
Scoops is the entity, it's actually Rosewood.
Right, but isn't there an ice cream stand at the south end on Pulaski Boulevard? That's
Yes, there is. Actually,
no, that used to be, there
they
was a
sold
place,
it.
TC Scoops in Medway, they closed.
No, the south
Then it
end,
used to
right
be
off the Fox Run
Sandy's.
Road, Sandy's.
It's Sandy's, now it's called the North.
Yeah, they changed
Pole
hands.
or-
Yeah, North Pole.
Is that what you
Yeah,
were
North
thinking of,
Pole.
Steve, or something else?
But the only
That
Scoops,
is the one I was thinking of, because
the only Scoops ice cream place is in
Rosewood.
Walpole, Mass.
Right. Okay, Steve was just, there,
My mistake.
it's my screen, but now that we got the scoop on what's what, let's go. Okay, thank you.
You need a scoop here. For the new members, Michael has had some problems with rodents and he worked with a pest control person that recommended that he take out some nuisance vegetation behind the house and put down some trap rock in order to try to deter the rodents from there. Unfortunately, Michael and the installer didn't realize that they were within the buffer zone and they really needed to come before the board. So there's a kind of an after the fact type of filing here. The majority of the stone is already in place with a little bit left to be done here. But in order to make everything legitimate here, we came before the board and it was suggested that we file a determination of applicability to satisfy the paperwork and, you know, get all of the details of what Michael was doing.
I'm not sure I buy that, given that all the work that went into the septic system and all the hearings that were held on the septic system, they were well aware that they were within the buffer zone of a wetland. To claim otherwise is ridiculous.
Wait,
Is asking me?
yeah, basically.
Oh, so,
No,
no, well,
I'm
I,
just saying,
I'm not trying to increase the size of the lot or the property, I was just trying to maintain existing land that was there. And clear the vegetation out and cover it with riprap stone.
So the question is, did you know where the wetlands line was before you started the river?
Physically, no, I know they're at the back of the restaurant.
More specifically, like within a few feet of the back of the restaurant or way back or?
No, I mean, well, probably, I don't know, 40, 50 feet off the back of the restaurant, because I know where the septic tanks, storage tanks are, septic tank and the actual grease tank at the back of the premises are.
Are they beyond the shed? Or right behind the building?
They were right behind the building. In front of where the shed was.
Okay, they're not shown on the plan though.
I'm sorry,
They're not shown on the plan.
when you said,
The septic.
The septic is not, sorry.
so
shown on the plan.
the septic is up next to the picnic area,
Yeah.
the new septic, and that was a different filing.
Right, no, I remember that filing a while ago, so I see septic. Yeah, it's still not shown off to the right either, by the picnic area. Just curious to why that wasn't shown. Got everything else got downstairs, got the shed. Septic is.
About that later.
Yeah. Well,
What are these lines? Is there different dimensions?
One's a 25, one's a 50, and one's 100-foot buffers.
Yeah, the 50 is written in green there, I see that.
Oh, it's not fine.
25, 50, 100 is hard to read, but it's.
I got it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that?
That
isn't
50
that
would be
50
just double.
25?
Yeah,
Instead of the
that's
100?
more, that's a 75.
It's not the scale.
Oh, it could be, you know what, it's very, very possible that's the case. I probably did a 50-foot offset off the 25.
Hmm.
So,
And then 100 seems.
The 50 and the 100.
So I
would be
may
25
have
feet more in.
Lines 25 feet further out than they need to be. I don't have a scale with me.
Yeah, okay,
So do you think that the reason that he filed for the septic system, but not this, was just,
The septic system was done a long time ago.
it could have been because that person deals with this a lot and knew the process, whereas whoever.
Well, you've been the property owner for how many years?
The septic was done
10
just
years,
before you purchased
yeah.
it roughly.
Yeah, right around that
Yeah.
time, yeah. The plan for the septic system was not done by me, but I did complete the septic project. There was 2 options in the purchase of the real estate. So all the work that was done for the septic was done from the previous owner, where it was gonna go and the approvals.
You just did the.
And that was the only way I was able to close on the property.
What's the green hatch behind indicated?
That's where the stone was placed.
All the stone, okay.
Yep.
So we're well within 25 foot.
There was a portion of it that was within the 25
How much
foot.
is, what area of the stone is not in place yet? Going away from the building?
It's up in this location here. Like-
You want to show us on the plan over there?
Yeah,
please?
you want to show one of the plans roughly.
Point it out on the plan.
So. Parking, so this is the back of the restaurant here. Yeah, okay, that's the parking. Okay, so the stones all where the dumpsters were, this is all the stones there, and there's still piles of it. And then there's stones spread along the back of this area and kind of stops like right here.
Well,
Yeah, right where the
your
fence
hand's
is.
blocking what you're pointing out, sorry.
So like to the right of the, where the shed was.
Right along the 25 foot line, but not beyond it yet?
Is that what that line is there?
That's what that line
Yeah,
is.
yeah, so it's in that area there going that way, and this is all the picnic area where the actual leach field and everything for
So it's
the septic
it's
system
not-
is.
it's
Where
not
is
left
it
of
not,
the dumpster?
where are you gonna? When you go back to place the stone, where are they gonna be working?
All right, so there's a little bit here, and then that area over there to the property line where the dumpsters and all that are, like, all 95% of that stone's already in place.
In piles?
And it is, well, there's some piles, but some of it's already spread. And then there's, that part along here is all graded off.
So it's rough, open, disturbed earth at this point in time inside the
It's
25
riprap
foot.
stone, and then there's.
No, you're saying it's not yet stoned in, but it is level or graded.
Well, yeah, so there is earth there, so, I mean, just to this point, and then then the picnic area is over here, but there is vegetation or weeds or whatever you wanna call it, still in that little area.
Behind the picnic area, but not the area that's in green block below the shed. That's the area you still want to grade. The area that goes from green to brown on your plan there,
Yeah,
the bottom right hand triangle, that area still needs to be stoned, but it's been disturbed / graded to be a slope north.
so it would be like right this area here, not out this far.
Right,
So it would be this area here, and then I believe the picnic area basically is, this whole area here. And then the septic field is,
right.
In
But
that
none of that's
area.
being affected. All right, so there's an area still, just for the commission's, for what we determined, within the 25 foot, which is not marked as, Bruce? 25 foot not flagged on site,
No,
not since you discovered this and came to us for the RDA?
I came in quick and then basically grabbed information I could from GIS and then popped on some
Right.
offsets.
So is it staked in a way that the applicant could see clearly where the 25 foot curve goes up through that?
I mean, it could be done. You're on a, what, 2-to-1, 3-to-1 slope there. It's not.
Which has been disturbed and stripped, basically ready for riprap, but not riprap in that one section.
Defoliated, but I don't think he's
Yeah.
done any earthwork there. That fill has all been
So
there.
they're
for
chopping
years.
off this, I'm just trying to get a sense of what's left there to be negatively affected by putting riprap inside the 25 foot. And what might be, if the commission so is inclined to say, stop at the 25 foot.
Below the shed.
And anything that hasn't been riprapped or remove riprap from the 25 foot or whatever the
So if
commission
you
wants
were
to
to-
do,
if you
what the
were to
condition is
say-
there now. And
And
what
what
we
we're
would
gonna
have
look,
to,
So it's not below the shed area, and then anything that has riprap on it was existing grade and slope. It just has 6-inch riprap stone.
Right.
Placed on top of the surface and then on the slope.
Okay.
When I went out there last week with Board of Health, it was essentially what he just described, how it's just like rocks on top, but between the picnic area and where the green hashes start, it's like a 4, 5 foot dirt, a couple weeds past that. You drop right down the slope, and then around it.
And what is it below that, Hannah, the last couple lines on the sharp drop off there below the shed? Before you get to the 25 foot, is it vegetated heavily, not vegetated?
Oh, right at the
Between the shed and the 25 foot, no disturb area, between the wetlands line.
No, that's,
Straight down.
that's already been
Yes.
riprap, Mike.
What's that?
That's already been all riprap.
Right, but what I want to know is what is the white area between the wetlands defined area and the shed?
When you get to the
vegetated.
total slope, it's a lot of understory, a lot of brush,
Weeds,
weeds.
yeah, I mean, there's trees all the way out in the back. Some of them are dead, some of them are still
But
alive.
it's fairly flat to the wetlands on total slope? It
Yeah,
looks
once you
like-
get to
the
the total
bottom.
slope, it flattens right out.
And about how many, well, I can estimate if that 25 foot is accurate, it's probably about 10 or 12 feet.
Yeah, it's probably like 10 or
Down
12
to
feet, yeah.
The narrow section with a couple feet. Okay. Does the commission have enough information to want to do a site walk, not do a site walk, make some additional questions or comments?
I think we have to close this within 21 days because it's an RDA, just so you know.
And
Right.
I think that I don't think it would benefit us to do a sidewalk at this point if the wetlands haven't been flagged and they've only. And
Well,
that's
by-
in GIS, because we might find out that they don't extend there, or that they go farther up than that one does, because that's probably from like 1988. I think is when Mass made that layer. So maybe, I don't know if we can issue conditions on a negative determination, but maybe we could just have a condition to flag it once we get some
Well,
rain.
If, we have 21 days to act on an RDA, is what you're saying,
Yes.
which would be any kind of action, which could include, no, you need to apply, this is not a negative determination of
But they
applicability.
can't fly it right now. Really dry.
Well, no, I'm not stating that they have to flag the wetlands necessarily, that you could say you have to issue a notice of intent and go through an application process because you've basically, we're not issuing an enforcement order, which we potentially within our rights, you violated the 25 foot. I'm just offering things that not necessarily gonna happen, just around. My reading of this is we could issue an order of conditions, or enforcement order saying you need to stop all work and get stuff out of the 25 foot no disturb. You violated that area. That's something that the commission, I think, is empowered to do as an option. I think another option would be you need to file a notice of intent and we will proceed with that, which would involve flagging 25 foot, the 50 foot accurately. And particularly on the north side, it's like, and if possible, the wetlands, if it could be determined, but you're right, it's a drought situation, so it's gonna be a tough determination on that part of that
But the
line, but.
RDA is to determine.
Right, so I'm saying as part of not a negative RDA, you don't need to apply, the applicability doesn't apply. We could say, yes, it does apply tonight, potentially or within 21 days, and there are other responses. I'm just trying to see if I'm missing any or the commission has any thoughts on any of these.
Could be like, continue, would that be an action?
It's an action, but I'm not sure if it's the right action that you can take within an RDA, I just don't know.
Is it like 21 days after each continue?
No, once they present it to us.
You have,
It's supposed to be a brief thing. We're supposed to be like, is it or is it not?
does it need to have an NOI or not, basically?
And 21 days is December 4th.
I mean, if I may, we came to the board in good faith, trying to come to a solution. You gave us, say, do this.
Deja vu.
That's where we are.
Deja vu.
Yeah, so I mean,
Blackstone Street, deja vu.
I mean, I personally, from looking at the information that's available to me, see this as a historically disturbed property, like it's filled square. So like that fill is
I
not
mean-
native up to the, beyond the 25 disturbed. And I don't even know if the wetland actually extends up to there. For all we know, it could be non-jurisdictional.
yeah, this is, I was very careful to put it on here. It's taken from the GIS data. You know, we'd have to get a botanist to go down there and flag it. I mean, the big thing is he had the stone, you came and stopped him in the middle of the work there. He would like to try to complete it and then not do anything anymore. That topo is from the GIS data, that's historically the limit of disturbance.
Let me ask another question to the applicant, or Bruce, you can answer if he can't, but I think he does. Why did you choose to go that far with the stone as opposed to stopping at the shed or in front of the shed? And just dealing with behind, because if it's to deal with the rats and so forth, the dumpster area is what you was mentioned, I think, in the note.
Yeah, there was two dumpsters. There's only one there right now. They removed the other one for
The other one
the season.
located somewhere. behind
it's
that.
like
I think the
behind.
site.
Right, so it's still two dumpsters of the same size.
Maybe Hannah can back me up on it, you know, it's a steep slope, you can't stop the stone.
At the top of the slope, you certainly could.
Well, I mean,
I know it's been done beyond that, but
Mr. Chair, I think it would benefit people to actually see it.
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I
We
think,
have a sidewalk scheduled just for your information. this
I think
Saturday.
it would benefit everyone to actually see it. It would clear up a lot.
I mean, at Armorist
misconceptions.
Bank, it holds it, it's, you know, it's got some benefits that, you know, we had talked about before.
Well, the benefits that we talked about before weren't to the commission before we did it, so I don't know what you talked about before. My point is, if you were dealing with rats as the point of doing all this, to control them, and the dumpsters and the building with the areas you want to protect, I don't see why you would go as far as that unless you just really want to do a broad swap area. Did you have somebody recommend professionally
Like two pest control companies.
that they
and
go that far
recommended,
with
yes.
stone?
Yep,
Was that area?
to clear the area and that would like, what's that?
Was that area of lawn?
Not lawn,
No, it
but
was
tall grass,
weeds and
weeds.
stuff like that.
Including down the slope, they recommended you go down a steep slope and riprap that, or was that your decision? Because it looks like it's about 25 feet away from the building to the shed, is that about right? I'm going based on
Yeah,
the 25-foot
yeah,
line being accurate
yeah,
on the plan.
I'm not, yeah, possible, yeah, it could,
Okay,
I'm not
so-
100% sure, but yes.
If-
So,
If your two pest control companies recommended you go beyond 25 feet from the building and the dumpsters that you're trying to clear out around, and I understand that there were weeds and so forth in the back there.
Right.
In that area. I wouldn't see why they wouldn't draw a line, for example, 25 feet out roughly at the shed line and draw it straight across that area, saving you
so
money.
so,
It's still controlling a wide area.
yeah, so what, basically, the area that, is covered in the riprap stone is existing, like, turf, or what, I don't know what you call it. And then there is a slope that goes down, so basically, we just remove the vegetation and put the riprap stone down, yes, because there is a slope there. The stone is gonna go down the slope.
Right, well, I was proposing you stop way short of that so that there would be a flat area, you could put up a block wall or something between the shed, about the back of the shed line, say, going across horizontal, to delineate the area and not get into going down a steep slope that is, in this case, appears to be at least too close to a wetlands area and a violation. I understand you came in good faith.
Again, Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Neil, go ahead.
I think seeing it will make a big difference in people's understanding of what was done and how it was done.
I think that's a valid
Again,
point.
I don't think what was done was necessarily the problem. I think how it was done was the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
It was done without a permit.
Okay, we do have sidewalk scheduled for this Saturday, which should be relatively short. This would be even a shorter one since I think it can all be seen from probably walking around for 2 or 3 minutes. It's not a big site.
So if
However-
December 4th is the 21st day.
Right.
And we don't have our next meeting. So, yeah.
Right, we'd have to make a motion to continue or to do something tonight in order to satisfy the 21-day requirement. In the meantime, having a site walk and making progress on this. Plus the applicant know we're moving forward, we would have a plan to move forward because we, after the sidewalk, would very likely have continued this to another meeting.
I don't think our recommendations or conditions are gonna change whether or not we issue a positive or negative determination today. I think we're making it more difficult just not issuing a negative determination and saying, these are the conditions you have to follow your continued installation of this riprap. That will take what, another day and a half to do?
Yeah, no more.
But you're proposing only that in that negative determination that they go ahead and finish putting the riprap in and dump
And
the work.
remove the
Okay,
area.
so
that was
that's
disturbed.
the question whether And Neil, you've got more historical experience than I do on this for sure. In an RDA with a negative determination, we put conditions on before that you can recall,
Yes, absolutely.
and including
time.
things like, okay, not just go ahead and finish it off. That's
No,
why
no,
we're giving
no,
you
there
a
would be,
negative.
there would be a negative determination with conditions, absolutely, we do it all the time.
Okay, but we would have to be clear what those are tonight in order
We
to
would have to
satisfy.
be very clear tonight what those were when we issue the determination. We couldn't
Which
just,
is without a
willy-nilly.
sidewalk. Right, without a sidewalk, as everyone's pointed out, would be helpful, but if we issue these conditions, a sidewalk will be informational, but not particularly relevant to, because we've already issued it. what we
yeah,
wanted to
once
do.
we issue the, once we issue a negative or a positive determination on the RDA,
We can vote on
we're
it
pretty much
now,
done with it.
and then the paperwork with the wording can come after Saturday. It's not like she's not gonna have the paperwork ready and signed and issued by Saturday.
I don't think we could change the wording if we make it tonight and put it in writing differently and have it, one or the other would not be valid.
I don't think we would need to change the wording is what I'm saying, because
Okay.
we're only gonna have them remove it from the 25-foot buffer, no disturb zone.
If that can be determined, as Ariane said, by what the wetlands line is. The wetlands is not 5.2, Bruce, correct? I asked about.
Again,
No, the
I don't know
25.
I don't know that we're gonna have them removed from the 25. I'm not sure that's practical. You have to see the site to understand it.
If it's too much, yeah, if it's too much of it is an additional disturbance, I would agree with Neil that if it's not worth the amount, because I mean, the plan doesn't make it look so great, but it's
It looks very eroded right in that area, like that's where all the water channels down into the wetlands.
if anything, the riprap is gonna help.
Yeah.
And that may be the thing, but my concern is that this be done in a way that not mess us up down the road, like at the next hearing, because if we say you don't have a negative or determination RDA, here are the conditions, and one of the conditions is remove. If it looks like it really should be and can be, and that'll make it official, that's option A, or not remove, finish filling in the area that's proposed as option B. And we would prefer that whichever one on our site walk on the 16th looks best to us, but we can't discuss it at a sidewalk and say, and take, oh, this is the strobe pole.
Right, the determinations
Actually,
now, we're just gonna.
you can discuss it, but you need to.
You have to, or,
Oh, it's in advance.
no, I think if we're stating conditions and a negative determination of applicability, I think it has to be very specific. I think everybody's in agreement on that tonight. And I'm just concerned that we,
The area beyond the 25-foot disturbed, according to this GIS wetland, has been disturbed previously. So I personally would be okay with leaving.
Can we not continue this till the next meeting? Are we
No.
legally not allowed to do that?
no, I think,
We have to, under Hannah's,
I'm looking for a
Recommendation.
caveat, I'm not finding one.
so it's yes or no to an RDA tonight, as far as we're aware. Continuing it is still not clear, just why. I was looking to see if she sees any examples of that being done. I don't recall it being an RDA request being continued. It's usually a yes or no on this meeting tonight, but I hope you gentlemen are understanding what we're trying to get here, so that we don't mess things up for you all and ourselves by going on a sidewalk, which would be helpful for us to see. It's too bad we didn't have another meeting on the 20th, but town meeting is requiring that we go to that, and we will be canceling at the end of this meeting, the town meeting, the Concom meeting on the 20th, which normally would have been scheduled. That would have been perfect timing, do a sidewalk, continue it to the 20th and come back with some discussion and decision on, but I don't know if we can legally continue in the NOI.
Well,
I'm sorry, the RDA request.
if we're forced to issue a decision tonight on the RDA, then I'm gonna vote for a positive RDA. And then make them file an NOI.
we have a 21-day requirement to hear it within 21 days of submission,
Which we're doing tonight.
right?
You can
And then there's
continue.
also a 21-day period after we vote to close to actually get them the paperwork. I'm not aware of another.
Right, but if we issue, my whole point is if we issue a negative RDA and put conditions on it, those conditions I don't think can be changed after for any reason, like the sidewalk, if it changes our minds. We can't change the conditions suddenly and say, oh, well, we walked it, we looked at it, and now, again, then that would be too late anyway, because we wouldn't have another meeting until well after on the 11th.
Can we not? Because we issued an order of conditions for a pretty large project
And they
earlier
have
this
the
year, and we changed the conditions. Because there was a list of like 40 of them, not in a meeting.
And the applicant would.
That
do
was not
the
either,
site
that's not why.
with us,
Yeah,
so
but-
he'd be like, is this?
No,
okay?
it's maybe different.
Conditions.
I don't know if there's a difference in the NOIs for, because we did discuss that at the time, there were this project at the north end of town, you know, right. Mentioning, no, houses. Anyway,
If I could,
yes,
the site has been, a siltation barrier has been put in place. The
around where,
oh, I'm sorry, let me finish, please. Okay? The agent met with Mike out on the site and asked that additional wattles be put in place, which were installed 2 days prior to the meeting, so that the wattles were all put in place at the agent's recommendation. I urged the board to go out and look at it, because if you're talking to removing it, you're gonna cause more of a mess than anything else. The bank is well stabilized with the trap rock. It's gonna hold, and it keeps any erosion from happening, which we discussed at the last meeting. But I think, you know, a site walk Saturday should answer a lot of your questions.
the question is legally, what are we needing to do tonight in order to protect both your rights as an applicant and our requirements as commissioners, and not mess things up, knowing that the next meeting that we can have to vote on anything is the 11th, which is beyond the 21 days. So what we do tonight, sidewalk, I think we're all in agreement that sidewalk would be helpful for those members that don't want to attend.
It's my recommendation, if that's your concern, to continue it to your next available.
We don't know if we can continue an RDA. We're looking to see if that's never been done in my history that I can.
If the applicant is.
Can we?
Yeah.
And NOI, I understand, but I've not had that. Do you
Because
know?
we can also hold a hearing for things later than the 21-day period if the applicant is open to it. We've done that in the past. Yeah.
Do we know where the waiver exists and so forth? Because we do not know. I'm saying you can't.
They just sent an email.
Oh,
They
okay.
sent a response back in writing, then it was good.
When did you say? I've lost.
And she would send them an email and be like, can we hold?
Yeah,
this
I do
thing?"
that.
For,
I do
right,
that
for
too.
NOIs, I
That's
know
for
all the time.
NOIs.
I don't know that we can do the same thing, right? Maybe we can, but if somebody can find an example of that, then, or that's done that, that's great. You and James.
Mr. Chairman, you hit the nail right on the head.
Okay.
I'm a former commissioner in Rentham for 8 years. It was 3 terms. And of that time, we had issued continuances on 3 or 4 different cases that we were involving an RDA. So the question there you asked or present, has it been done? I've done it personally when I was.
How many years ago do you think that was? I just, in case things have changed with the DEP, if it's 25 years, it may have changed. Regulations may not be valid, but if it's a couple of years ago, you said you were on for 8 years, but when was that?
I was in 94. So.
Can I just say what's in the handbook, because I found it?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Please,
Jesus, yeah.
please, thank you.
If the commission has a problem meeting with the deadline, they may request the extension from the applicant, but they do not have to agree to that extension.
The applicant does not have to agree to the
Yes.
extension, and is that for an RDA specifically?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's exactly what we need to know. Okay, so we will ask the applicant at this meeting if they're willing to have an extension to the 11th for this RDA request, knowing that we are planning a site visit on the 16th, which may help determine whether it will be a positive or negative RDA. We are not issuing a positive or negative site. We just want you to continue it so we can have a hearing after the 21 days requirement has expired, which will be the 4th of December. So we would meet you again on the 11th, having done a site walk, gotten opinions, whatever, have an open discussion, an open meeting, which we're required to do. Say yes or no to the RDA, if that's what would be before us, not an NOI. And if it's a negative, you'll know what the conditions are because we will state them at that meeting.
Should we have them flag it first?
Well, yeah, I was gonna ask as part of that, whatever you all want to see. Are you available between now and Saturday to do a little bit of flagging? Not a lot?
Oh, boy.
Because if you're not, that's our date to do the sidewalk. We have all the members pretty much available.
We have almost a month until our next meeting. I think we can determine on Saturday if we even need it to be flagged. If it's such a topographical difference out there in person, I'm not sure it is even warranted.
I'm not sure flagging the wetland will have any impact on what we see.
I was actually thinking more of the 25-foot line, but if it's pretty clear on the plan there, and you're bringing you provided a site for this?
Yeah.
We have it on the portal.
I know it's on the portal. That's all I'm at. I just thought.
I brought just in case.
Okay, yeah, so if we have a copy of that walking the site, we'll be pretty clear. If somebody can bring take that or whatever, if there's a question.
Like
But
Okay.
yeah, I agree.
I
We
think
don't have to flag it.
I
There's
think
like
what we
89 copies. here.
need to actually ask him is if he is open to that you haven't
Open.
asked to an extension, because if he's not,
Well, I sort of said, are you willing to maybe, are you
And then-
open as an applicant? Do we have to put in writing?
no,
Oh,
I'm just
yes.
saying you haven't formally asked him, so he hasn't even responded. He hasn't gotten to
Clean on
respond.
record.
Okay, for the record, I am asking the applicant and his representative,
Yeah.
who for the record is Michael Fabriano and Bruce Wilson, to state whether they are open to continuing this hearing to the evening of December 11th at 7 PM or whenever on the agenda it actually falls,
Waiving the fee, waiving the 21-day rule.
waiving the 21-day
I think it should.
RDA
be in
response.
your benefit to get them to come and look at it.
Yeah, no, I'm not an attorney and I'm not an engineer, so.
No, but as an
I
applicant,
respect Bruce's opinion.
right, so confer if you wish, but we need a
Yeah.
response to
From
the
me.
request as to whether you were open. to-
I'm definitely open.
Yeah.
You gotta come see it.
So yes, we have a
So-
positive response from both the applicant and the representatives to being a continuation of this RDA request for 455 Hartford Avenue to the evening of December 11th. I'll take motion a second from someone and second from someone.
Someone.
James and
Seconded.
Don, thank you. Any other discussion? Ariane,
When's the site visit?
16th at 8:55 or whatever, 9 o'clock.
That's this Saturday?
We'll proceed from Irene Court.
I was gonna say you have one early in the
Right,
morning.
we'll go to
I
that
have an
first.
8:30, so.
So we're probably about 9 roughly. I mean, we'll all be walking from one site, getting cars, driving up north down to
Yeah.
town.
It's not
And you're
bad.
familiar where this is?
No, I'm like 20 minutes away, one Elm Street.
Make the second site visit on my way to work, but probably not before.
Okay, that's fine, whatever works for you, and we'll take what we can get, that's good. Okay, so I have a first and second and motion, and we aren't setting any conditions, we decided we don't need to ratify. Anything else before discussion vote is taken? No, okay. Ariane? James?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Mike? Aye. Pam? Neil?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, gentlemen?
Do you cut the camera?
No, we can't cut the camera, we're still.
Oh, you still got stuff to do.
Yeah, we still have other things to do.
Then give me a call later, and it has nothing to
Send me
do
an
with this,
email,
but I
with another
want
phone number. Can't call you if I don't let you know.
it's
But no, just pass the one.
Hannah has it.
Hannah, whatever, okay, I'll try right now.
And this is when I was a representative of the town working for the town on a situation.
445 Hartford septic.
Thank you.
Yeah, you get the,
Did that one.
Yes, like I said, we went and did the site visit. I went with
I'm
Dylan
sorry.
because he knows more about subjects than I do. Looked at the order of conditions. It was very straightforward. I recommend that we do vote to sign. this certificate of
Sign
compliance.
issue order of condition, because strict compliance for 455 Harvard Avenue has been suggested, and I think
Second.
we would vote. And second, thank you, James and Ariane. Any other discussion about this? This was done in when was the application originally? For the work done?
2013.
2013. Okay, like rushing that certificate. Okay, any other discussion? No? Ariane?
Aye.
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 Mark? Aye. Yeah.
Aye.
And Neil, subject for 455 Hartford certificate of completion from
Aye.
20. Thank you. Unanimous vote.
Let him say it.
Well, I wasn't sure you was even hearing what the motion was. Sorry, okay, thank you. Gentlemen, you're good. We'll see. Yeah, but about 9 o'clock we'll be there.
Yeah,
We'll be there
this
when-
coming Saturday.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
No,
Okay,
'cause I have to-
we'll- we'll-
You'll see it.
I'm 10 to 12 minutes away, so it's not a big deal.
Okay, thank you. All right, see you then. Thank you.
Okay, Thank you.
Thanks. All right, 2025 meeting schedule is on the Concom portal. All the dates are pretty standard. There was no weird months. The only request I wanted to make, especially based on my experience and for Hannah, is that this past year, we had the deadlines for submissions be a week and a half before they would be heard. And I would like it to be on the Wednesday, a full 2 weeks, because a lot of if I get something on a Friday at 12:59 and there's a Monday holiday, it's hard to get that advertisement in 48 hours, I think. So,
So you need 2-week notice.
Every other town I've worked in has had a week.
It's just the advertising, not the additional information, all information you want as well within 2 weeks, because not just
I'm still there.
the
We
original.
don't have a rule about additional information. I just make people turn things in on
Yeah, I mean,
Sunday.
people obviously like turn stuff in today, they shouldn't expect to hear, have a speaker to
Right.
discuss it. And I would never push the commission to members to try to make any decisions based on something got less than a week in advance. And I think a week is minimal, and to have an applicant send stuff along, and if not, they should.
Well,
ask
she's
for
saying
continuation.
2
I understand, but this is for the application and the original submission
Yes.
of an application, not additional information. I wanted to make sure there wasn't.
So legal advertisement, January 1st.
Is it?
Start off your new year with an application.
You want that?
Drop by the town meeting, the town offices, they won't be open. Okay, all right, so that's a good suggestion. I don't know, how would you?
I don't think you have to necessarily vote on it.
It's a
I just kinda
policy.
want- I don't even think it's that. It was historically done. And so if
We need to get it out there somewhere the applicants will see it prominently, especially the.
oh, it's
old-timers.
always on the town website.
Well, I would suggest if it is listed, how is it listed on the town website in the,
It's on
the
my
mission-
Concom page.
okay, well, anywhere it is, with the current, whatever it states. At least a week in advance or a week and a half in advance, that we're jumping up 2 weeks, that we bolded, highlighted, flashing lights, arrows pointing, whatever. Mainly because old timer applicants who were used to doing it a week and a half and figuring that's enough will now be, oops, I missed it, what, now my.
Yeah,
That if we made the changes and noted it, then fine, that's all good, and, they can say, oops, too bad, and we can say it's been posted.
I mean, I can't chase after.
We can also,
They will learn.
Yeah, no, just post, that's why I said, not,
Yeah,
not even say
they will
notify
learn.
applicants ahead of time, or.
Just make sure it's not, if it's in 2 locations, you do. both
Yeah,
of them
it's
around.
there's only one document out there. It has not been posted yet, and it
Okay,
will be
great.
the only
I
one.
think that's a good, anybody else have any other feedback about that 2 week? I think it's great.
Wondering if that would affect the 20 period at all, or significant?
No, because it's within 14 days. I don't think it will.
If there was a
except
state DEP
November.
requirement for posting, it would be, this is now extended beyond, just like our bylaws, it's more rigorous, so state shouldn't have any issue with us making it more than that in advance, probably not less.
Yeah, really, this past year, the only times I've really requested the extra fee, or not fee, waive, is because we have a loaded agenda. It really hasn't been about timing. So,
Gives us more time to review stuff too, which is good. Okay, so,
but what you guys are voting on is the actual meeting dates,
right,
so.
any other,
pointed out one issue,
I didn't.
the New Year's Day legal advertisement.
Newspaper's not, no, that's when they
I mean,
get posted.
you're not gonna be.
Well, no, that's when the newspaper posts. It's not when someone's working.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
I was thinking,
Well, I guess the
I was
newspaper.
thinking your submittal to the newspaper by that date.
No,
Cause it might be like, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I don't think so.
But
I
the
mean, I
ad
looked.
goes out on the first.
Let me look at the calendar. Yeah, it would go out on the first. She can turn it in weeks in advance.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Well, not
If-
more than 2 weeks in advance, of course.
No, we can turn it in. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's vote. I need
Okay,
to go
does
home.
anybody have any other questions about the meeting schedule as was on the portal?
Killing me.
There was no other double meetings or 3 meetings in a month or weird stuff.
No.
And we will probably be facing the same December, thanks, I didn't look at my calendar, it was 2024.
We only have November
One
and
meeting.
December listed once on here, so.
November and when? December.
November and December.
Right, that's why I anticipate probably being the
So
case
we won't
again.
have to like cancel those meetings. then.
Right, which we're gonna do for tonight before the next thing on my agenda notes is to cancel.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I,
Okay, wait, no, we need to vote on the meeting schedule for 2025. We need a motion to accept the meeting
So
schedule as posted.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Ariane and James for record. Any other discussion? No? Okay, all in favor? Ariane?
Aye.
James?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Mike? Aye.
Aye.
Pam? Aye. Neil?
Sure.
Sure, that's a good sure, we like that. Okay, so the agenda has been, a schedule has been accepted and can be posted. Thank you. NECC peer review scope was done at the very beginning of the meeting, so that jumps out. All we need to do, I believe, to close the meeting is vote to cancel and because of town meeting on the November 20th date that we would normally have had our second Concom meeting, cancel that meeting and I will accept a motion to do so.
so moved.
Sorry, Ariane and James again, 1 and 2, thank you. Any other discussion about that? Something we do every year. Okay, and all in favor, Ariane,
Aye.
James,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Mike, gobble, Pam.
Aye.
I know somebody wanted to do it, so I did. Neil,
Yes.
come on,
Come on, you turkey.
Is that an aye?
He said yes.
Yeah.
James, aye, okay, thank you. All right, any other urgent business, something new has come up, James is pointing his finger.
One thing, it's not urgent, but we met at 45 Ruth Ellen, what, 2 weeks ago now?
Oh,
We had
Yeah.
recommendations 2 weeks ago, and now we're pushing it out again another month almost until we talk to them about it. Can we send them those recommendations and see if they can implement them before?
We haven't discussed it since the site meeting.
Right, site meeting, we intentionally did not discuss it, we
Right.
formed some opinions, I sent some pictures out, which hopefully most of you had a chance to look at, although I didn't describe each one. Basically, it's a very steep slope, and the leaves that were covering the slope,
it's an NOI now. It's fine.
it is, okay. They've submitted an NOI?
It's been an
Yeah.
NOI.
But
But
we,
if you would
oh,
like to send me those recommendations, I would like to know them, first of
Yeah.
all, but I
Well,
can,
can the agent not on our behalf send recommendations for keeping the slope in shape?
as an interim to continuing the NOI to another hearing? Is it on?
No,
I
it's
believe
it's
so.
already been continued until
When,
December,
what,
but I'm
is
saying.
it on December's?
It is.
Oh, okay.
It's on
I couldn't
December's.
remember there was a bit.
We will have seen it and had recommendations.
For a while, and
month
I
a half.
agree, if they can act on some of that, not knowing that it's gonna rain out. My concern was the leaves basically are covering dirt that's loose. I was stepping in and taking pictures from it, you couldn't tell from some of the pictures of it, but there's very little holding that stuff the way down. It was also interesting to see across the way that
yes.
maybe built, but
Mhm.
have built quite a pool reflecting pond, in an area that obviously is right next to them, closer than what this guy is putting in. So, yeah, and, we were asked by the applicant on the site if they could keep the stuff that was up at the top of the slope, which includes a large shed, which is also within the punishment area, but was not addressed in the meeting. We didn't respond to that because we said this wasn't an open hearing, but they would hear from us. So I think James is right. If commissioners that were there want to send Hannah directly any observations that they had, I think she can pull them together, and I think the recommendation of the jute matting or something to put down to not gonna kill anything that's underneath there, because everything is pretty much chopped, except for a few small things that they could cut slits and look through. That would be a good stabilization method. Is there something else that the commission might want to
What
hear?
are we gonna do with the,
So are we discussing this not in a hearing?
correct?
And are we going to issue them recommendations that we put together that weren't done in a hearing?
Yeah, it sounds like that, doesn't it? Yeah, you're right.
No, I think we're not. I think we're gonna
I think
send them to
I think we're
Hannah
issuing
so that she'll be
observations.
prepared, but we're not gonna issue any.
Yeah, I think we
Recommendations
just don't
to
talk
us.
about, it. Just send Hannah what you saw for observation. I think is valid to do without the applicant being in this and not making it a hearing. And then we'll take that information and potentially share it with the applicant as information we've gathered from a sidewalk that was independently gathered by members, not discussed, and
Yeah.
they can take it and act on it if they wish to. We're not going to recommend that they do anything ahead of time before the next hearing, the 11th.
So we're authorizing them to do work in the buffer zone.
We're what? Say that again, Neil?
We're going to be authorizing them to do work in the buffer zone?
They may interpret it that way if they see observations.
Well, that's how I would interpret it if we gave them recommendations
That's
of
a valid
things to
point.
do.
Yeah. If they take actions and then if we say later, we didn't like those actions, or they didn't do them right, they could point back and say, well, we were trying to do what we thought you wanted us to do. And yeah, you're right, it starts getting.
And they're
muddy.
doing it without an order.
Yeah. All right, yeah, no,
It's just an awful timing issue.
yeah, it's not a
It
great,
is, but-
as James is saying, Neil, in case you're hearing it, it's not a great timing issue that it's been so much time's gone by. They seem willing to want to hear what we have to say, even though obviously their representative had different opinion of what should be done going forward. But the applicant themselves seem to be amenable to
Well,
pretty much telling me what to do.
they did a bunch of work in the buffer zone without a permit, so I really don't care how they feel.
Yeah, and just more protecting the slope and the drainage, the basin of the stream, whatever below. If we get a lot of rain or something, if it stays drought wise, not a problem. Okay, yeah, I think that Neil's probably right.
Yeah.
Prudent to make your notes so you don't forget them between now and then, but we'll wait for the 11th to discuss this in an open meeting with the applicant present and let the leaves and rain and whatever fall where they may, in the meantime. But yeah, make a note of your observation. For my pictures, remembering what I was there, but come on. Any other urgent business? It's 10:20 something. Sorry for the late hour for the newest people in the room. It isn't normally quite this long.
I'm talking
But-
about usually longer.
What's that?
It's usually longer. We're here till tomorrow.
Don't scare them away.
All right, let's close it.
Okay, all in favor of, I'll set the motion to close the meeting. Somebody was, yeah, thank you. Same one, first, same one. I'm gonna write it. Any discussion? No. Ariane? Neil? Good night, thank you, James?
Aye.
Steve? Aye. Tom?
Aye.
Mike, aye. Pam? Thank you. Okay.